the Stat King, here with Chase Oliver of Around the Point. We have been covering the NFL in this Pick'ems show style format for the past couple weeks, but we decided to try to up the game a little bit, do it live versus pre-recorded. We are coming to you here on the True Hill Heat Sports and Entertainment channel. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already. We've got a pretty good, I think, slate of games here to talk about. Last week we had the divisional matchups start. This week we're taking it a little bit further with some more of the divisional matchups. We've also got some teams on bye, so we only have to talk about 14 games versus 16. And one of the games takes place in England. I don't know what the English people, what the British did to deserve a game of this caliber, but we shall definitely talk about it. Though, if the Jets of Sunday show up, I don't know if it's going to be that great of a game. But we
Oh
shall
no.
see. We shall see how that goes. But Chase, how are you doing this fine evening?
I'm doing well, man. Had a busy day at work, but very happy to be talking NFL. My favorite thing to do right now is talking about the National Football League.
And of course, as always, guys, we are bringing to you our records. Week one, the first week we did this, we ended up going five. Chase and I each went 5-11. Last week we went 8-8 each. So now our records are 13-20. We picked up got to 500. Got to, like a lot of teams in the NFL, we got to 500 this past week. We're going to try to continue to keep that momentum rolling. So let's start with this week's Thursday night football game. We are going to be seeing divisional matchups, just like I promised, when the Falcons take on the Buccaneers. And as always, we are bringing to you the current, as of Tuesday evening when we're doing the show, money line odds from FanDuel. I grabbed these this morning, so they already may be slightly out of date, but here are the odds. And I think this one's interesting. Immediately coming out of the gate, we got the Bucks traveling to the Falcons. The Buccaneers putting the Denver Broncos in their rear view, washing the taste of that loss out of their mouth by taking on the Falcons, who have been hit or miss this season. I think a lot of people, including myself, anticipated them coming out a little bit stronger with
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins behind center. I knew there would be some adjustment period, a little bit of a new scheme. They probably incorporated some things that he was doing in Minnesota, but also the Achilles wear and tear, trying to come back from that. But I still figured there'd be a little bit more, offense. And we were, I don't know if we were promised, but I would say that we anticipated a bit of Kyle Pitts resurgence, and that was not to be found. Kyle Pitts last week, a couple days ago, was a donut. He was
No.
pretty much blanked. I think he had two targets, but nothing. And now I'm starting to see rumors of potential trades. Kyle Pitts leaving Atlanta. I know one of the teams that's been connected. I don't know if you should be doing that though, because one of the teams that's been connected is my Denver Broncos because
No,
they
no.
cannot get shit out of the tight ends. I had high hopes for Greg Dulcich. Those have not come to fruition, and Adam Troutman is definitely not a long term answer anywhere. But here in this game, I'm hoping that the Falcons can use a little bit of Kyle Pitts because they're going to need him up against the passing attack of the Buccaneers. If you had told me uh, beginning of before the NFL season started that Baker Mayfield would be second in passing touchdowns on the season, I would have been very confused. We knew that Chase's guy Justin Herbert was going to take a little bit of a step back passing wise because we knew what the offense was going to look like with the Chargers. It was going to be a bit more run heavy. That's what Jim Harbaugh likes. We knew there would be some shuffling, but Baker Mayfield as number two, with Chris Godwin coming back to form as one of the league's preeminent slot receivers, and we have, of course, Mike Evans, one stack. Guy will always get 1,000 yards every year. Can Jesse Bates, can Justin Simmons, can they combine to in the deep backfield to contain this passing attack? I don't think that the secondary of the Falcons is really that challenging outside of those two guys.
Yeah.
I can definitely understand why the Buccaneers are favorite. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers because between the short pass game of Chris Godwin and Rashad White and the Bucky Irving now being used even more and more, basically taking that RB1 job, I don't think that the Falcons can keep up in that sense. Well, how about you?
No, yeah, I'm with you. I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well. The Falcons, man, it's like trick or treat with these guys. Like they either look really good offensively or they just run the ball. And the usage of Kyle Pitts is really such shocking because I saw in Minnesota, Kirk Cousins, he relied on TJ Hawkinson so much.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things I'm like, and Kyle Rudolph before that, like he relied on his tight ends. Like he likes throwing to his tight ends. So the fact that Pitts is just not being used and the way Raheem Morris like answered that question, he was just like, oh, we're following the game plan. It's like, what, Darnell Mooney is a way more important target than Mr. Kyle Pitts? Like, I don't know. But yeah, I think a change of scenery is much needed for Kyle Pitts. He's just obviously, like, for whatever reason, he's frozen out in that locker room. And the defense for Atlanta, it's, they show flashes of like being somewhat competitive. Like they show it, but then it's just like they're not competitive. And it was funny, Bill Belichick, I think it was 2 weeks ago when he was on the Manning cast when Atlanta was playing the Eagles, he said, AJ Terrell, that's a lot of money to be paying for a corner that hasn't forced an interception in like 2 years. Ugh. And it's like it's one of those scenes. Like I get it, interceptions, some people say is an overrated stat, but if you're a corner, you should be getting more opportunities at picking the ball off. Like I have Chris Olave in fantasy. I was just like, oh, Olave hurt his hamstring. I ain't gonna start him against AJ Terrell. That sounds crazy. So I benched him. And keep in mind, no. I had Rashee Rice. So I had Rice
no.
Yeah, so not a good fantasy week for me. That was my $1,000 league that I'm in. So that loss even hurt even more after that. So, but yeah, I just don't know with the Falcons, man. Shout out to my boy Young Hollywood in the chat. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, it's weird because they either they'll send them out basically like into a flat or a curl route. We were talking about this last week, or like maybe once or twice a game, they will actually take a deep shot with him. And it's just like, that's not, you saw what didn't work with Arthur Smith and you just decided to keep doing it. And it's like, I don't understand what's happening there. Hopefully the Falcons can turn their usage of Kyle Pitts around, because I'm sure that he has to be frustrated. There is, a lot of times different players will have the concept of the team win versus, personal glory. And that's great. I think every player should have that, because when the team wins, you win. And ultimately that gets you paid in different ways. Mm-hmm. But because GMs love people who are like, we're willing to put the team first. But at the same time, if you know how good you are or how good you believe you are, then you want to be able to say, I contributed to the team win. Yeah. That's also a factor, because you got to feel you can feel as though you contributed because, like, yeah, I helped run block for fucking Bijan Robinson. But at the same time, you want to be like, I was able to get the touchdown. They can count on me, so that in those down times and when, we're down 2 scores and we got to do no huddle and up tempo situation, they know that they can throw to me. It's just one of those kind of things. But
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
2nd round pick, Kyle Pitts for Devontae Adams. 2nd round pick. Kyle Pitts for Devontae Adams.
You're saying the Raiders give up a 2nd round pick?
No. They give.
The Falcons give up.
Yeah.
I don't think the Raiders would do that, because what's the point? You drafted Mayer in 2023. Well, you drafted
the Raiders are running a lot of 3 tight end.
Well, that's true. So that's true.
They could have the craziest 3 tight end set of all time. Well, Bowers, Mayer, and Mayer mostly is blocking during those 3 tight end sets. But just imagine Bowers and Pitts,
Mayer
running routes. Yeah, why not? Fuck it. I mean, running that's what Getsy's running. And
yeah, that's what he's running. Then yeah, that is fair. That's true. If that's what you're running,
that's what I'm asking. What would you think about if the Falcons called and said, "Hey, disgruntled star for the disgruntled star, but we will
Well, we
still
don't
give you
know
a
if,
second
well,
round
I
pick.
mean, in Pitts' defense, I don't know if he's necessarily disgruntled, but I don't know if I'm the Raiders. I don't know if I take that.
No, not even with the
Because
second round in there. They're just because they said they will take a second round pick for Devontae Adams.
I not, and it's no disrespect to Kyle Pitts, but I think you can get more than just a second round pick in Kyle Pitts for Devontae Adams. That guy really
Mm-hmm.
is a game changer, game wrecker wide receiver. And despite, like, people talk about his age, I think he's 31 years old, but like at some point he's still like at some point he will lose his powers. And they were the sun god was trying to get under his skin on receiver, just calling him old over and over again. But like
Yeah.
until it happens, he's still Devontae fucking like
No,
he's
he's
still
good. He's
Devontae
great.
Adams.
He's one of the
Yeah,
best. He's one of the best to ever do it. Like, no,
yeah.
I was just saying, like, keep in mind, I'll be asking about Amari Cooper and Devontae Adams for a couple teams every time. I'll be like, question:
Hey,
do you think
that's
this team would take Amari Cooper, Devontae Adams?
absolutely, and that's what we're here for, and that's what we hope you guys are chiming off in the chat. We've got Young Hollywood saying, "My guy Chase, what's up, man?" We got Romeo here saying, "Stop lining up Pitts at wide receiver." Yeah, stop lining him up at wide receiver to run a flat or a curl, or just like
Exactly.
just like an out route. Like it doesn't make any sense. And Romeo asking how many tight ends do the Raiders need?
They need all of them.
If there was a potential great landing spot for Kyle Pitts, it would be one of the teams that we're about to cover. But the Falcons, we're hoping the Falcons can take flight over the Buccaneers, and maybe in their flying time, they will be able to cross the pond, much like these two teams, the Vikings and the Jets, flying to London for the early morning, especially if you're on the West Coast game of
6:30, baby.
Of the Vikings and the Jets. It is the London game. We've got the Vikings coming off of a nail biter win against the Green Bay Packers. They looked really good during the beginning of the game, and then they seemed to kind of disappear in the second half, but then they managed to turn it back on, or whatever it was that was off. They flipped that switch back in order to ensure victory over the Packers. And again, if somebody came to me and said Baker Mayfield's going to be number 2 in touchdowns, I'd be like, okay, crazier things have happened. But who's number 1? Maybe like Burrow, Stroud, something
right?
like that. They go, no, it's the quarterback for the Vikings. I go, but wait, JJ McCarthy tore his meniscus. It's Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold can't be leading the NFL in touchdowns. And yes, we go from the number 2 leader in touchdowns to the number 1 leader in touchdowns in Sam Darnold leading the Vikings. This could be a barn burner, but that depends on whether or not the Jets have dried themselves off from the rainstorm that they found themselves in on Sunday. And the rainstorm was not just the rain coming down from the sky. The rain was the Broncos' pass rush, knocking down Rodgers a total of 5 times. The Jets have been struggling for a couple of years to rebuild the O-line, keep people healthy. It's a common refrain in a lot of different teams. And it's one of the reasons why a couple weeks ago at the end of the show, I was asking you about your thoughts on Brady's comment about program versus playbook, the idea of being able to coach up players and develop them, because one of the things we see is O-line people coming out of the draft are terrible. And yes, they used to be terrible back in the day when they would be drafted, but at the same time, they were coachable and they could learn a scheme and learn a program. And now we don't see that as much because, as Brady was pointing out, and as both of us agreed, they teach playbook over program. And so the Jets have been working on this O-line, but they couldn't keep Aaron Rodgers upright. But now they've got the Brian Flores defense to deal with. And Brian Flores does like to blitz. He likes his coverage packages, but he also likes to bring pressure. And if there's one thing that Brian Flores probably remembers very well, granted, it's changed a little bit over time, it's the Jets from his time as the head coach down in Miami. I can definitely understand why the Jets are the underdogs here because the Vikings are firing on all cylinders. Aaron Jones is proving doubters wrong when it comes to his health and safety. People thought he would be broken by now again.
Right.
He's missing games. A lot of people drafted or picked up Ty Chandler just to be on the safe side for insurance. Nothing wrong with having a handcuff. Or if you're trying to do like a contrarian play, you pick him up because you think you're somebody else in your league is going to have Jones. Jones is going to go down, but Chandler really hasn't been used that much. Meanwhile, the Vikings get back Jordan Addison, who goes off for a receiving touchdown, a rushing touchdown. He's back to form. They've got Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson versus Sauce Gardner is going to be a really good matchup. If Cortland Sutton got some decent yardage on decent catches and decent yardage on
all 55 yards that he got.
Hey. I was told Sauce Gardner stops anybody from getting anything. So anything is decent yardage to me because I saw what happened with Garrett Wilson and Pat Surtain. So this one's going to be really interesting. I'm going to take the Vikings on this one because I think that there's just too many options for Sam Darnold to throw to, whether it's Addison, Jettas, Jalen Naylor, Johnny Munt, Jordan Oliver. There's just two. There's all those names start, and all those names start with J for some reason. But all of those guys just provide too much of an opportunity for the Vikings. Now, if the Jets can play good ball control offense and keep the Vikings offense off the field between the two-headed monster of Braylon Allen and Breece Hall, then they really do stand a chance. But if the Jets running game from Sunday shows up, then there may be some issues. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. If you're a Jets fan, do you just want to lose this game? Because I would force the Jets to want to trade for Devontae Adams even more. Like Rodgers will be more pissed. Like I don't know what you really want, but I love Sam Darnold. He was my QB1 coming out of that draft class. Lamar was number 2. Josh Allen was number 3. Baker was not even. He was like 5. And stuff. But Sam Darnold has to come back to earth eventually, and I think those ghosts are back. He's going to be seeing ghosts. I've been loving gutsy Sam Darnold. Like, it's so crazy. Darnold's the most fun quarterback to watch this year. He is making gutsy throws. Like, Sam Darnold's not doing these check downs, doing all these, like, he is slinging that ball. He's slinging a couple balls in coverage against the Packers. I'm like, bro, Darnold's looking like the Darnold I knew from college, the guy that I said would be the best QB in this draft, but he's coming back down to earth. I think the Jets fix whatever issues they have. I think that this is going to be one of those things. Travel-wise, I think this favors the Jets too, being closer to London than Minnesota. They have to probably do one connecting flight or anything. So for me, I like the Jets in this situation.
Colleen and her family on Thursday are flying out to Italy from O'Hare, and it's a direct flight.
Dang, that's crazy.
I don't know how exactly it's happening, what crazy magic is going on, but Minnesota is not that far. Minneapolis is not that far from Chicago, so it's possible it could be a direct flight. You never know.
Yeah, but I like the Jets in this situation. I think the Jets will fix the problems. I think they're a better football team overall. And the one thing Aaron Rodgers loves, he loves coaches that want to blitz. He's like, okay, keep blitzing me. It's all right. I'll figure this shit out, and I will torch the blitz. Like, blitzing against Rodgers is like one of the worst things you can do. Like the Bears, every single time they thought they had Rodgers, just play coverage, just play deep. Nope, they wanted to get cute. They wanted to send a blitz, and then Rodgers would throw a slant down the middle to Randall Cobb, and Randall Cobb would have scored a touchdown or got 20 yards. So that's why it's like blitzing against Rodgers is one of the worst things. I get Rodgers is older, but that mind is still there. Like he's going to figure out and stuff. Like and Saleh, just let Rodgers cook. Like I'm sorry, I know you want to run this high up tempo college style offense. No, let Rodgers take his time. Like let Rodgers get the cadence down and everything. Just calm down for a minute.
So you think that the anomaly is there with the Broncos sacks?
No, I just think the Broncos have an underrated pass rush, and the Jets O line was just like, oh shit, these guys are actually good and stuff. I think
So
the Broncos
what
are
I'm
just
saying, the reason why I'm bringing that up is I'm thinking Brian Flores is watching all that film.
yeah. I don't think the thing with the Broncos though, they weren't crazy blitzing like Flores likes to blitz. Flores likes to blitz a lot, so that's the thing. Like the Broncos, a lot of their guys are just beating the tackles one on one, and it's like I don't think the Vikings have, like, Van Ginkel has been nice for them, but I don't think he's as good as the edge rushers you have when it comes to one on one, or if he gets doubled. Like I felt you guys were just beating them one on one. It wasn't like a lot of blitzes, and I don't see the Vikings having a Surtain that can shut down the Garrett Wilson, or
That's true.
like I just think you guys' defense is just matched up so perfectly for the Jets. Like, like when you can just shut down Garrett Wilson, your run defense is pretty damn good, minus the Kenneth Walker game. But as we saw, Kenneth Walker just makes anyone look like mere mortals and stuff. Like he's actually really damn good at football. So yeah, no, I think this one is going to be a Jets win. I think the Vikings come back down to earth a little bit. I think they're a little bit hyped up. I think Sam Darnold sees the ghost again, and yeah, I think Darnold and the Jets, they lose this one.
But keeping our aerial theme going, we go from Falcons to Jets, and now we've got Ravens. Ravens flying over to Cincinnati to take on in division. Oh, my color's messed up there in the money lines. But to take on the Bengals, and man, the Bengals looked rough, absolutely rough to start the season. Granted, Chase was a little bit rusty. We had T. Higgins not there the first, I think, 2 weeks. But they seem to have turned it around. This is going to be the question, the first real test of whether or not they actually have turned it around, because they're not playing some kind of a cupcake team. Even with the change of quarterback from Bryce Young to Andy Dalton, it's still the Panthers. There's still 52 other people on that roster, and it's not the best roster in the NFL. But you could make an argument. You can at least make the argument after Sunday Night Football that the Ravens do have the best constructed roster in football, because any roster that starts with Lamar Jackson and then Derrick Henry has an argument to be made that we can kill any type of clock situation that you want us to. You could tell John Harbaugh there's 10 minutes left in the game and we need you to kill it. And he goes, all right, cool. Someone just tell Derek that he's got to go down after 5 yards so that we can burn another 30 seconds off the clock. Because otherwise, he's just going to truck people and just go to the end zone, because that's just what is in his nature to do. And so this is a very interesting matchup. Like I said, the Bengals coming off of a win against the Panthers, but it is the Panthers. The Ravens looking so dominant against the Bills, taking out one of the three, I would say the big three powerhouses of the AFC, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens. Ravens lost to the Chiefs in the opener, but they pick up this win over the Bills. This is an interesting test for the Ravens also, because you have to keep that momentum going. And the Ravens have been they've been spotty, similar to the Falcons. They have been spotty, but their good is great versus the Falcons' good just being good. And their bad is also really close. Because if Isaiah Likely's toes are inside of an end zone, then we are saying in this game that this is they've beaten both of the two powerhouses, and it's really just the Bengals that are left as quote unquote serious challengers, at least on paper from the beginning of the season. So the Ravens coming in here as the favored. Excuse my coloring issue there, does not surprise me whatsoever, considering how the Bengals have looked. I don't know if I trust Burrow and this offense against the Ravens defense. Now, in the Bengals defense, you and I, in our sports chat over the summer, we're talking about who is Josh Allen going to throw to. And you were pointing out it's really nobody. And I said he's got people, but even I'm conceding they're not the best people. But you can make a very strong argument that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are the best 1-2 punch of receivers in the league. Like you got to say them. You would say Godwin and Evans. You would say Cheetah and Waddle. If both are healthy, you would say
I think we're done with them. Mike McDaniels can't even get them the ball.
Hey, no. Hold on.
They should be making. They should be making.
If you have Tyler Huntley and Skylar Thompson,
that's Mike McDaniels' fault. I don't know how you can't design routes for these guys to get the football in their hand. Let's just say AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. Like
AJ Brown and Devonta.
Quinn Johnson, Lad McConkey. You know.
Okay. All right. I get it.
What about Debo? Who's Debo's? Is it Ayuk or is it Kittle?
I would say
Debo
Kittle.
Debo and Kittle.
I would say Kittle. But
Kupp and Puka when they're healthy.
That's where I was going. Kupp and Puka as well. But T. Higgins and Chase have a very strong argument to either be number one or at least in that top 5. So I think the Ravens are going to have some struggles. I think Burrow has the experience of fighting against the Ravens versus Josh Allen, who has much less experience dealing with the Ravens. However, Ravens got Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry is looking like he is making the Titans a fool. He's looking like he's making the Cowboys a fool. I still don't know how you don't pick up the phone if you're Dallas. I know you got to pay Dak, and I know you had to pay CD. But you could have found money. You could have found money. You could have cut Brandon Cooks and Jalen Tolbert and signed some people for like vet minimums and given all the money to Derrick Henry, and it would have worked out just fine. Because now CD can get super deep open because they got to worry about Derrick Henry. But how are you feeling about this one?
So Derrick Henry's 4 games against the Bengals. 2017, Tennessee versus Cincinnati, 52 yards. 2020, Tennessee at Cincinnati, 112 yards. Tennessee versus Cincinnati, 38 yards. And then 2023, Tennessee versus Cincinnati, 122 yards, 1 touchdown. The trend is this. Every other game, Derrick Henry stinks against the Bengals. This is just a trend. This is something that I am saying. It's going to happen. This is going to be the bad.
You're saying take the under on Derrick.
Every other game he's stinking against these guys. Look, the Ravens looked really incredible on Monday Night Football, but we even talked about it. Like when we recapped the Bills taking on the Jaguars, that it's not like the Bills defense are world beaters. It's just a bunch of prove it guys. Like defensively, defensive line wise, they do have a good defensive line, but other than that, it's one of those things where I look at it like this. The Ravens, when they start feeling themselves, they're so streaky. While the Bengals, I think they want to keep making a statement. Look, Burrow looked good in the Monday night game. He looked really good on Sunday against Carolina. Like if Burrow came out and he just like stunk, I would have been like, oh God, you're stinking against Carolina. What's going on here? But I think the Cincinnati Bengals do have this one just because I'm looking at, I like that they're able now. They're getting Zach Moss and mostly Chase Brown involved. Chase Brown Chase Brown is an X factor for that team. He's a really, really good, terrific young player for them. And I like that he was getting involved while Moss was still kind of also getting his touches. But I just think the fact that this is a divisional game, Lua Monroe, the defensive coordinator for the Bengals, he tends to, know how to handle and contain Lamar Jackson. If this was at Baltimore, I would feel more comfortable choosing the Ravens. But since Cincinnati's at home, I think this is a big win for the Bengals. I think this is, and plus we're out of September. That means the Bengals are back.
True.
That's
true, Joe.
No more bad Bengals, man. They survived the badness of September. Now they're in October. This is where we get the Joe Burr memes and all that other stuff. So I think the Bengals will win this game. Just because of the Derrick Henry trend of every other game against the Bengals, he just stinks. Like he's either great or he stinks. And this is a stink game, which is good because maybe later in the season when you have to play them, it's the great Derrick Henry game. But in that Bills game, the receivers of Baltimore did not impress me. I felt they just did not look good. I also think Andrews not being whatever's wrong with him, we don't know, but him not being 100% kind of hurts him this game. And minus the Ramondre Stevenson game against the Bengals, they've been pretty good at rush defense. They've been pretty solid. Like the Commanders, we know how they can run the football. They showed that in the Cardinals win, the win over the Cardinals. They can run the football, minus the Eckler long touchdown run. They kept that Commanders rushing attack in sort of check. Like Jaden Daniels only had like 48 yards. Brian Robinson only had 33 yards.
But
So
I
that's
mean, if you can get up and then you just switch to clock killing, you should just starve the Bengals.
yeah.
You
But
starve them of playing time.
I also think this is the Justice Hill. Like he gets way too many snaps, and people are like, "Put Henry back in. What are you doing, Harbaugh?" Yeah, Justice Hill is just catching everything. But yeah, I think this one right here is a Cincinnati Bengals win. I think they're a little bit more hungrier. They're on the prowl. They'll eat some Ravens for breakfast.
On the prowl. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
But keeping our now cat theme alive, we move from the Bengals to the Panthers coming to take on the Bears. And the Bears, we started this when we covered Hard Knocks, the Bears Hard Knocks. I really don't know what to make of the Bears this season. You can say growing pains, but there's also a lot of problems with the offensive scheme. Shane Waldron is looking really spotty here as the offensive coordinator. Eberflus still looks like he's in over his head. However, all that being said, I have to give this staff some level of credit because they beat one of the best offensive minds in football today in Sean McVay on Sunday when they beat the Rams. Now, a lot of things broke right for them to do that, but they, credit where credit is due. They still pulled it off. This is a Panthers team that has looked revitalized. Deontay Johnson looks, at least from a stat sheet perspective, back to his former self. You can make the argument he was always his former self. Bryce just couldn't get him the ball properly. But Andy Dalton doesn't have that problem. Andy Dalton is looking like he probably should have just stayed the starter.
Yeah. Why even put Bryce back in? Like
I don't know what's going on. They were like, "Oh, we got this country guy, Xavier Legette. It's gonna be totally different. Like we drafted Jonathan Mingo, and now we've taken Legette. It's gonna be great." And Bryce was just like, "Yeah, no, I don't know what I'm doing." But Andy Dalton is like, this is almost an embarrassment of riches because Andy Dalton is getting, I think, what was his final score? I think 31-24 or 31-21 against the Bengals, but he's putting up points against teams. And so this is going to be an interesting one. However, whatever we want to say about the Bengals defense, the Bears defense is a completely different animal. No pun intended. And I think that the Bears defense is going to be able to starve out that Panthers passing game. And I think Roschon Johnson and DeAndre Swift working together as a tandem, as a true tandem, is what the Bears should have been doing this whole damn time.
Yep.
And similar to how we didn't see chemistry in Hard Knocks between Keenan Allen and Caleb Williams, we really didn't see DeAndre Swift do much of anything in Hard Knocks. There was a lot of a focus on what you and I during the review were like, well, these guys are RB4 and 5. Why are you telling me anything about them? If anything, I would actually want to see Roschon Johnson because he was drafted last year. Now he's got to deal with DeAndre Swift coming in. Khalil Herbert, obviously Herbert already knows he's on the back seat because they drafted Roschon Johnson. So he knows his time is slowly dwindling down. He was also coming back from injury. So we could have seen DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson, not necessarily butting heads in a bad way, but just how they were going to work together, how they were going to mesh together. And I think them talking, hey, we're going to give Roschon Johnson more run with the ball. The DeAndre Swift said, oh, so then I actually have to run. I actually have to do some things and do some things he did. So this one's going to be interesting to me because I want to see the running game from the Bears if they can keep it up from last week. The other thing is Caleb has to stop overthrowing people. I don't know what he's doing there, what he's seeing, or if it's just an anticipation issue. Like he thinks they're supposed to keep running. Is that like is that like the route? If it's maybe the receiver saw something and he said, yeah, if I cut in and then Caleb thinks he's still going off on a fade or a post route, and that's why he overthrows him, because a couple of them that I saw, the receiver was actually breaking in towards the middle of the field, and Caleb's throwing out as if it's going to be an out route or some kind of a fade, not out route, but a fade or a post. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's it. I don't know, but that's one of those growing pains, that chemistry issue that still has to be resolved. But I think that the ground game for the Bears is too strong for the Panthers, and I appreciate what Andy Dalton has done to inspire this team by coming off of the bench. But I'm going to be taking the Bears on this one. How about you?
Yeah, the Bears are winning this one. They're just a better football team. The Panthers look good in the loss. I'll say this: they looked really good in the loss, but yeah, that defense it's still bad. And I think this is like the big Caleb Williams game where like everyone says, see why he's number one overall pick. That's why he's great. This is why. If he struggles against this defense, I don't know what's going on over there in Chicago. But yeah, no, the fact that they finally realized, like, hey, Khalil Herbert, like, maybe he's just not our guy. Like, they finally stopped forcing Khalil Herbert. Like, they're just like, you know what, Roschon Johnson, he was really good in college. Like, he was one of a lot of people don't know this. Roschon Johnson made sure Bijan Robinson wasn't on a bench on a lot of games in Texas. So he's a pretty damn good player. It's not like Roschon Johnson, some scrub and stuff. So yeah, I think the fact that they finally found Swift and Johnson combination, and I think both those backs complement each other well. Caleb, one of his main issues I noticed too, the minute that he sees like a defensive tackle beating one of his offensive linemen, he just starts rolling out. He is not
happy
staying in the pocket.
It's happy feet. It's fundamentals.
Yeah,
that's fundamentals.
And that's an issue for him, is that he literally can't trust his old line to just and in the National Football League, you're going to get hit as a quarterback, and especially because roughing the passer is probably the easiest penalty to get. Just stay in the pocket, throw the ball, get hit. Oh, roughing the passer, defense. It's like, I don't know. Like he is just doing a little bit too much, and like you said, those deep balls were bad. Like, yeah, they look pretty to watch. They're cool incompletions, but oh my God, you can't be making these mistakes, man. Like safeties like that play too deep. They're gonna love playing against this guy. They're like, oh, dude, that's a free interception. Getting closer to that bonus. But yeah, no, I think the Bears are just a better football team. Like the Panthers, just a bad roster. It's just they're a young roster, missing a lot of key pieces. They just lost Shaq Thompson, who was the leader of their defense for almost like 10 years. Like this guy has been one of their leaders for a while, one of the few Panthers left from like the Ron Rivera regime.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think if I remember right, he was playing in that Super Bowl, or he may have been a rookie in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, like second year, I think it was a second year and stuff. But yeah, he converted safety from college. He one of my favorite prospects to watch. He was so good. He was still good football player. But yeah, losing a guy like that means a lot on defense, especially when you're calling your signals and you need your signal caller and stuff. Now you're going to be, I don't know who their backup is. I don't know if they're going to trust that rookie that they drafted out of Kentucky, that they say, hey, you know what, you're now a new signal caller. So there's a lot of things that is going to be changing on that Panthers defensively that the Bears should definitely take advantage of. And maybe Keenan Allen's back for this game. He's like, oh man, this team is not that good. Hamstring feels great. I'll get 5 receptions, 38 yards, a touchdown. Why not? Yeah, Keenan Allen, he's back.
Well, we're going from. No. I got to figure out how to do this transition. We're going from. I know. We're going from a team that has their first round pick at playing and getting game reps to a team that refuses to play the 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft up against a team that wishes they had a quarterback from the first round that they could put in because they have absolutely nobody behind center. Romeo is in the chat, in the comments, calling this holy toilet bowl. And he's absolutely right. When I was writing this down, I was like, what I did was I was like, okay, I'm gotta make sure I don't get confused in all these. I'm gonna just do all the home teams on there, then I'll put all the away teams in, then I'll do the the money line odds. So I'm going through, and I'm not fully paying attention to like what team is getting, like what matchup is getting what money line number. I'm just making sure they're in there. And I go -108, -108. Wow, that's like an even line. Like wait, which one is this? I go back and I go, oh, it's the Patriots and the Dolphins. Now it makes complete sense. You have the Patriots that could only really score on Sunday because of a muffed punt return by the Niners. The Niners were like, you know what? It would be really bad behavior. It'd be poor sportsmanship if we did not give you some kind of a chance to make this final score respectable. Here's a muffed punt. And then on Monday Night Football, the Titans were like, you know, it would be poor sportsmanship of us to at least not make this somewhat competitive. So we're gonna have Will Levis start the game, give an interception, and get injured, and that's what we're gonna keep playing. We're gonna have to keep playing this game. That's the only reason why the Dolphins and the Titans felt even somewhat competitive. And then towards the end of it, the Titans were like, no, we still have to win this game.
Yeah, we need this win a little bit more. Oh
God. I can only imagine that if Tua doesn't properly come back from this concussion, like it takes an extra week or so, like maybe 2 weeks, whatever the case may be, or just re-injures himself, God forbid, down the road, and the Dolphins have a really high draft pick, I can only imagine, like I'm just going to go through everybody's 40 time. Whoever is the fastest, I'm going to be like, that's who the Dolphins are picking with this high draft pick.
Well, welcome to the Dolphins,
like
Alshon Gentry.
Their entire philosophy is who's the fastest person, that's who we want. Like the fact that they didn't take Xavier Worthy, I was like, I'm very surprised.
Well, they took Chop Robinson, who had the fastest
there you go
time for edge rusher ever for edge rusher. He had like a 4.2. I'm like, what? And I was like 4.3. Jesus, yeah, and he hasn't panned out worth a shit.
But here we have the Dolphins. I don't know if Skylar Thompson is going to be back. I know his ribs got messed up. I don't know if they put him on IR. I don't think they did.
No, he should still be good.
He's just okay. So maybe we'll see Skylar Thompson return. If Skylar Thompson returns, there is some hope for you fantasy owners of Cheetah and Waddle and Achane. But Achane, now he's questionable. He picked up some kind of a leg injury or something like that, if I remember reading it right. So he may not be there. Mostert could be back, but I mean, I don't know. This could be a Jalen Wright game, but I don't know if that's right for the Dolphins because they have looked absolutely dog shit terrible without Tua. And you know, to your point earlier, I gotta say, if there was anything that reinforced how good of a quarterback Tua is or could be, it's watching Dolphins games without Tua.
Yeah.
Because the coaching staff, for all of the credit that Mike McDaniel has and his ability to scheme an offense and get players in space and speed and this, that, and the third, to your point, he could not do that to save his life against the Titans, who have like a pretty decent defense, but similar to how we said about the Bills, they're not world beaters in any way, shape, or form. And now they're going up against the Patriots, who at the very least can hang their hat on having a semi-decent defense. Their offense is dog shit terrible, but their defense at least is looking good. So I don't think this is going to be a Drake May game. In some respects, I hope it isn't. I'm taking the Dolphins simply because there is a weird off chance that somehow either Huntley or Thompson, if it's Thompson, it's a higher likelihood, but Huntley somehow finds Tyreek Hill and Tyreek Hill does like Tyreek Hill stuff and gets into the end zone. Did you see the play? Did you see the play where Snoop Huntley managed to overthrow
Tyreek Hill?
Tyreek Hill of all
Tyreek
people.
Hill beat two people and literally like it was the easiest touchdown. I'm like, this is like literally Hill ran the route, once Huntley let it go, I was like, touchdown. I literally said to myself, sometimes I'll see certain throws and I'm like, I'll just say touchdown because I knew Tyreek Hill probably beat whoever he was saying. When I saw he beat the safety and the fucking corner, I was like, oh yeah. And then it landed right in front of him. I'm like,
that was easier for Tyreek Hill to do than it was for him to beat his children, and he's very good at that. So like, I don't understand how he's pulled. Like, it was, I was just like, dude, how did you he's the fastest dude in the league. Like, he still is the fastest person in the league. How do you overthrow him? Which, one, just says Snoop Huntley has an insane arm, but two, it says Snoop Huntley has zero accuracy. And they're like, oh, and the best part was, did you see before the game? I'm saying backstage interview, like it's wrestling, but the interview with Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill's like, yeah, man, like, I just got to do what I can for the team. He's like, he is a Pro Bowler, so it should work. It's like, there are Pro Bowlers and there are Pro Bowlers. Mitch Trubisky was a Pro Bowler. That doesn't mean anything at this point. But who do you got in this one?
I don't want to choose anyone. Can I put Ty?
Hey, I had to.
This game just screams such a tie. Like, I feel like it's such a tie game. That Dolphins offense looked horrible, and it shows how much they miss Mostert. I think A-Chain is terrific. I think he's a terrific back. I think he's kind of like in the Jahmyr Gibbs situation where he can do a lot of things a running back can do, but he is just not ready to be the full-time back. Like, he's more suited to just, learning, and Mostert is such a key player to them. If he can't go, I don't think they beat the Patriots, to be honest, because I think they miss Mostert. I don't understand how Mike McDaniels cannot get the ball to Waddle and Tyreek Hill to save the life. Like, Tyreek Hill is more than just a 9-route wide receiver. Like, he can kind of do any type of route. Waddle can do drags. Waddle can do slants. Like, how is it that you're struggling to get the ball to these players? Like, that's the thing about Mike McDaniel that I just don't understand. And Huntley's a way better passer than freaking Skylar Thompson. Like, Skylar Thompson, you're just hoping he becomes the Skylar Thompson that he was in college, where he was just making these fun, crazy plays. But that's not happening in the NFL, buddy. Like, it's just not. And the defense of the Dolphins, they're just gassed. They gassed in these games because they're just in there. And I just think this is an ugly Patriots win. I just think it's the vintage, Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson, just that. It's just ugly. It's like we go to red zone. It's like, oh, let's check in on the Patriots. We haven't seen much of this game. Still 3-0 in the third quarter. It's like, oh, like, I'm sorry. The fact they couldn't move the ball on that Titans defense was just so, like, appalling to me. And just the offense, like, and the crowd too, they were just booing every minute they could get. They were just booing everything that McDaniels was doing. And it's just like the thing with McDaniels is he adopted a lot from Shanahan, where his scheme goes if the run game's going. And when your run game is not going, for whatever reason, he can't just find ways to get the ball to these two dynamic wide receivers in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And that's on him, man. Like, that's not on Reek. That's not on Waddle. That's on Mike McDaniel. You got to call better fucking plays to get your playmakers open. So, yeah, I think the Patriots win, and I hope it is a Drake May game. I want to see this kid play. I'm tired of watching Jacoby Brissett. He's probably one of the worst players to watch right now in the NFL. Like, it's just like I
don't think they're going to put in Drake.
Jerome Mill's an idiot.
But you know what it is? Honestly, I think it's kind of smart. If you're concerned about the overall longevity, one, from a confidence standpoint, and two, you got to look at the roster and say, is Pop Douglas, is Jalen Polk, is Javon Baker, are these guys going to be lead wide receivers next year? Or can we get a high draft pick by destroying Jacoby Brissett's body? Can we sacrifice Jacoby Brissett at the altar of a Travis Hunter, of a
McMillan,
of a Luther Burden? Can we do that? Can we and if I'm Gerard Mayo and I'm the front office, Jacoby, I'm sorry, bud. Somebody's got to do it. It's going to be you. Like, that's what I would do.
Yeah. Drake May will debut against the Chargers, have a tremendous game against us later in this year. It's bound to happen. I just want him to play this year. I just want to see if he's that good. Maybe they'll wait 4 years. They'll just say, yeah, you know what? saw that Ryan Williams kid in Alabama. He's 17. Well, we have wait 2 more years for this kid to come into the league. Let's go.
It'll be the Squidward meme where he's all like in the cast and in a wheelchair. That'll be Jacoby. They'll be like, all right, buddy, it's game time. It's game time. We're gonna shoot off the fireworks for you as we wheel you out. But moving from a game that is rightly called the toilet bowl for this week to a game that could be one of the highlights of this week. Oof. Just wash that that Patriots off of us. We've got the Texans hosting the Buffalo Bills. The Bills taking their first loss of the season after facing the Ravens. We talked about that during the Ravens Bengals preview. The Texans doing okay, not lighting things up the way everyone kind of anticipated. They've been, but they are getting the job done in different games, in different situations. They're kind of beating up the teams they should be beating up on, which is, really all you can ask for. But this is a potential wild card round. It's a potential divisional round matchup. It could even be, if things break right, a AFC title game preview when Josh Allen comes to town and CJ Stroud has to figure out, how am I going to beat this guy? And to the conversation earlier where we're talking about the Bills and the wide receivers, who is Josh Allen throwing to? CJ Stroud does not have that problem because he's got Stephon Diggs. He's got Nico Collins. Tank Dell is supposed to be coming back. This is going to be a full-powered Texans offense. I think Joe Mixon may be coming back as well. And if that's the case, this game could be really, really fun to watch. I think that Derek Stingley is going to be the big factor in this one. Between Derek Stingley and Will Anderson, the question is, can you get enough coverage on a Khalil Shakir, on a Keon Coleman, that you are pressuring Josh Allen with Anderson? You get a couple good coverage sacks. You got to have the linebackers to block and get Kincaid out of the situation, which they do have. They have some pretty good linebackers. And if you can do that, and you can get Joe Mixon moving on the ground, Cam Akers did not look bad. He didn't look terrible this past weekend. This could be a good win for the Texans at home. I don't know if the Bills see, but that's the other thing. The Bills are looking like they got to have a win because they lost a conference game, not divisional, but conference. And seeding is ultimately important. This is going to be another conference game, and it's against a team that figures to be in the mix for giving people seeding headaches down the road. I'm going to take the Texans on this one. I'm giving them the home field advantage on this, but I can definitely understand anybody who would pick the Bills. How are you going on this one?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going the Texans. Plus, Stephon Diggs revenge game. Come on.
That's also a factor. Oh, boy.
How am I – every time psycho receivers like Stephon Diggs get traded, they go off against their former team. Remember Deshaun Jackson? He got traded – goes to the Commanders, and then all of a sudden he just went off against it. I just think it's one of those, like, CJ Stroud understand, like, he's a smart player. He understands. Look, Nico Collins, I know he's my best receiver. He's my number one guy. I trust him the most out of anyone. But for this game, Nico, this is Diggs' game. This is the Stephon Diggs revenge game. Let Diggs have his big game. Let Diggs talk his shit. I know this is definitely the Nancy and Romo game. Oh, here we go, Jim. Oh, Stroud, Allen. I love it, Jim. He's loving it. I'm loving it. I think the Texans are a really good football team defensively, offensively. I love gritty wins, too. I love that they were able to hold off a hungry Jaguars team, a divisional rival game. Jaguars had every right to win that game, but the Texans, they were so gritty. They're like, no. We're not going to let you have this. And I love that. I love those type of wins. I think those wins are sometimes more important than blowout wins. I think it's just more sometimes I think it's an anomaly that Vikings game was like a weird anomaly that was just like, oh, shit, we got caught. Like, sometimes you just get caught. I think the Texans are the second best team in the AFC right now. And I think they submit that by beating the Bills at home.
They look at the Ravens and go, anything you can do, I can do better.
Yeah,
I love it. I love that
Stroud's
theory.
great. Stroud's
So
great.
right now, if you were doing the Chase parlay, it's under on Derrick Henry yards, over on Stephon Diggs yards.
Oh yeah, dude, it's fucking gonna happen, bro.
All right, so let's turn from the Texans talking about a gritty win. They got that win over the Jaguars' expense, and here we have another divisional round or divisional matchup. It probably will not be a divisional round matchup, but we had Falcons, Bucks, we had Bengals, Ravens, we had Patriots, Dolphins, and now we continue with Jaguars taking on the Colts. I don't know why the Colts are underdogs here.
I'm confused by that too.
Because the Jaguars are terrible. They really desperately needed that win, like you said, but they just look absolutely terrible. Meanwhile, oh my God, if you put a pocket passer behind the Colts line, look at what can happen when you got a guy who can throw the ball. Anthony Richardson. I'm sorry. I know he's your quarterback in our
Tony, baby. Big Tony.
But this is I quite literally had this conversation with two different people back-to-back days, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday the games happened. I had it with a buddy of mine that I'm in we went to basic and AIT together for the Army. We were bunkmates back in the orientation and basic, and he's a big Patriots fan actually, and he's trying to figure out when Drake May is gonna start playing. But he was upset about Steichen's use of Anthony Richardson and the lack of rushing attempts, and I'm like, hey, he's on pace at the time. This was Friday. He's on pace to have the same amount of rushing attempts that he had last year, and he was getting injured. And my whole thing was, I think if you're going to have a running quarterback, you have to be almost conservative in how you run them. You can't just be like design, run. It has to be how to open up the pass and how to help your running back. The Ravens on Sunday had a great example of how to do that, where they were able to fake out with, I think it was Lamar. It was a fake out with, I want to say Justice Hill, not Derrick Henry, but it was I think it was Henry. But they had a great fake out handoff, and I said to Nick, who I then had the conversation with on Saturday, this is how you're supposed to be using your running quarterback. The idea that you open it up by creating this sense of we don't know what's going to happen, and I don't think that the Colts really know how to do that with Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor, which Shane Steichen's a good coordinator. Like, he was a good coordinator. I would expect him to be a good head coach when it comes to knowing how to do things like this. When you had Jalen Hurts and you had DeAndre Swift, Jalen Hurts, and Miles Sanders, you had some familiarity with how to do that. However, on the flip side, I can understand how the Colts are underdogs because Flacco is now the quarterback because Anthony Richardson went and hurt himself. And, dude, and that was so dumb. He hurts himself. They pull him. They bring him back.
Why put him back in?
The first play back is him running the ball again.
Yeah.
Anyway, not only is Flacco now the quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, but Jonathan Taylor has picked up a questionable designation, and we're not 100% sure whether Jonathan Taylor is going to play. So I can understand how the Colts are underdogs, but at the same time, the Jaguars are just god awful. It's an interesting one to pick in that sense. I'm going to take the Jaguars to get their first win. I think that level of desperation is so high that they have, like, Doug P is coaching for his job right now. He is absolutely
not to him. He's in the press conference. They're like, "You're on 4. You feel like you're on the hot seat." He's like, "What kind of question is that? I feel like I'm good."
He can feel that way. But Shad Khan said this was the best roster that he felt they had ever put together, and that included a time when they had Leonard Fournette and went to the AFC Championship game. But
Jalen Ramsey was on that team too, and they just traded him away. Oh wow, crazy.
But I'm going to take the Jaguars in this. I can't, like, if you have Christian Kirk, you have BTJ, who is looking so good.
Yeah.
BTJ is looking like he has stolen the wide receiver 1 spot from Christian Kirk. He just happens to be slotted as a wide receiver 2 for some of these routes. But what do you think about this one?
Yeah, look, the Colts, they will always play above themselves. Joe Flacco, I'm sure he's going to have his fun renaissance like he did last year. That was so fun. Joe Flacco just looking really good again. This is a really good Colts team. It's a team with a really good offensive line, but I'm with you. I think the Jaguars are hungry. They looked good in that Texans game. That was the first good game for them. They are still a horrible team, but they played really well against a really good team in the Texans. They just came up short. The Texans were just a little bit more grittier than the Jaguars. And if you're the Jaguars, this is a game where it's just like you have to win. You have to win this game. Going 0-5 is detrimental. Only one team has made the playoffs going 0-4, the 1992 San Diego Chargers. I don't think you're going to 1992 San Diego Chargers, but you're in a weak division. This is one of those things that you need to take advantage of the fact that you have to face the Colts and the Titans twice a year. And also, hey, we show the Texans that we're no slouches against them.
Right.
So if you can find a way to build up wins, it could help you guys maybe get a chance. And this is a big chance for the Jaguars, a big chance. So I think the Jaguars will win this game. I do like the Colts. I think the Colts are a good team. It's just they're playing a very tough schedule, and it's just one of those things like it's all dependent on Anthony Richardson. Are you going to get good Richardson, or are you going to get God? This guy fucking sucks, Richardson. Like that's the gamble you play with Richardson.
I don't even know if he's going to be playing with Richardson.
No, I know, no, but that's a gamble that you get with Richardson. But now with the Colts, like it's like okay, like are you going to get the fun Flacco from the Browns, or are you going to get like Joe Flacco finally showing his age, like just saying,
you know what's really interesting? This is set up to be really interesting. The Colts, I'm looking at it right now, have allowed the most yardage in the NFL, that defense. But their points allowed is in the 16th range, is in the mid-teens.
Yeah.
Like they're tied with Seattle, the Falcons. It's them. Then right after them is the Browns, the Patriots. Right above them are teams like the Lions, the Bills, the Giants. So this is a you can get yardage, but it's a little bit tougher once you get to the red zone. And the Jaguars have had huge problems in the red zone, punching it in. Now they did look good against the Texans, but this one's going to be this is a sneaky back and forth matchup when it comes to can the Jaguars right the ship when it comes to the offensive issues, because if they can't and they go 0-5, actually here's a fun one. If the Jaguars go 0-5, they're in contention to end up having either the number 1 overall pick or let's say top 5, right? I think we can assume that.
Yeah.
Let's say they either end up with number 1 overall or somewhere in that top 5.
Okay.
Who would you have them take?
If they're number 1,
yeah,
trade down with the quarterback needy team.
Okay.
But if they're number 5,
yeah, like let's say like 3, 4, 5, somewhere in that range.
If they're 3, 4, 5, I feel like BTJ is your number 1, so you don't really need any of you. Like I know people are gonna say add another receiver. Kirk's getting older, but I feel BTJ is just a clear-cut number 1. Adding a Luther Burden, a guy that needs the football to get hot. Same with McMillan. I think that's redundant. Honestly, I'd go with Travis Hunter. I think Travis Hunter would be the pick.
Does it affect your thought process to know that, ignoring the age factor, Christian Kirk is in his second to last year of his contract. This year, his cap hit is $24 million, and next year his cap hit is $27 million.
Yeah, I'll go Travis Hunter because
Okay.
worst case situation is this: you don't want him at receiver. He's a pretty damn good quarterback. He's good at two positions. Like this guy is so hard. Like there's weeks I'll watch Travis Hunter. I'm like he's a better receiver. Then he'll have a game as a corner. I'm like he's a stud corner. I don't know. And I think Travis Hunter is easily the best player in this draft class, but I don't think he goes number one because there's going to be teams that are going to say like, okay, which quarterback are we taking? I think two quarterbacks are going back to back again. Whoever those two quarterbacks is, we'll have to wait and see through the draft process. Like does Cam Ward shoot up the draft boards? Does Milrow shoot up the draft
It's
boards?
Carson Beck. What are you talking
I mean, he showed that he's a top 10 pick in that game. I don't think he's number one. I think he lost QB1. Do people like Shador that much? But yeah, if you're even if you're the Jaguars and you do have the first overall pick and no one's like feeling it, just take Travis Hunter. I think he's the best. Like, because like to me, McMillan and Burden are more like we need a number one wide receiver. They have one. They have BTJ. He's their number one. Why take away touches from him? While Travis Hunter,
Well, I mean,
can
but I mean, at the same time, we were just talking about best 1-2 punches in wide receivers.
Yeah, but I think Travis Hunter can play a better number two than
Okay.
Burden or McMillan. That's what I'm saying. Like
Gotcha.
Hunter's not like, Horn is getting more receptions than me and stuff. Like he's just their best player. Like that's just the thing. Travis Hunter is a great ball player.
Yeah.
And I don't care. Whatever team drafts him, just let him play both ways. Fuck it. Just go with it. Hey, don't be like, oh, I don't know, body NFL. No, this kid has show. Like, give him a couple snaps at corner. Give him a couple. But no, I think Hunter would be the pick. It's just like McMillan. I think he's a little redundant with BTJ because BTJ is tall. McMillan is not as fast as BTJ either. And then Burden, he's short. He's small. I don't really know his true height. He's like kind of like a Wan'Dale Robinson type of receiver, except he's like more polished than Wan'Dale Robinson. So I don't know if you want to pair that with BTJ. I feel Travis Hunter, who's like 6'1", can run all the routes, can catch the ball. He's your intermediate, medium guy. Brian Thomas Jr. is like, I'm fucking running down the field. I'm gonna catch this shit guy, and that works out. And then Travis Hunter can just be like, oh shit, I gotta go back on defense, fine, and then lock some dude up. Like he's just that good. He's a phenomenal player, Travis Hunter. Like holy shit, like. He's my favorite. He's one of my favorite people to ever watch for film, especially this year. This year, he's way better than he was last year, especially because Colorado's actually winning games. They're looking good in wins too. So, yeah, he's looking good. But yeah, I would go with Travis Hunter. I just think that's the best pick. Like the best player you can get, the best bang for your buck. Hey, if you don't pick him as wide receiver, he's your quarterback. Either or, you get a good football player out of it. Like it's two positions in one. I'm taking that guy any day of the fucking week.
But you said that you felt as though quarterbacks could be going back to back, similar to this past draft. And let's talk about the guy that went number 2 overall, who will whether his career is whether he wins Super Bowls or not. He looks like he's going to be absolutely electric and will forever be known as the guy Chicago could have had, depending on what happens with Caleb Williams. We are, of course, talking about the Commanders' Jayden Daniels. And Jayden Daniels has looked absolutely electric, especially these past 2 weeks. He destroys the Cincinnati Bengals, and then he turns around and this past week goes up against the Cardinals, and the Cardinals could not keep up with the Jayden Daniels-led Commanders offense. This is a ridiculously high-powered offense for a team that really does not have superstar players. Like you can make an argument that Terry McLaurin is a star. I would agree with that. But you're not going to call him a superstar. You're not putting him in the same league or same like household name as a CeeDee Lamb or a Chase or whoever. Take your pick. You have Brian Robinson, star, but probably more well-known around the country as the guy who got shot and survived and then came back and played NFL games a couple weeks later. He's not a ridiculously well-known running back, but Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn are getting the most that they can out of this offense and out of the defense. And the defense definitely has way more holes than the offense does. The main problems on the Commanders' offense is the offensive line. I have a feeling they're going to be taking a receiver in the draft or a cornerback. Like a like a Travis Hunter, if they should find themselves, if this trend of theirs of picking up wins reverses itself for any reason. But the question here is whether that reversal could potentially happen when the Browns come to town. And the Browns being the underdog here makes absolute complete sense to me. It feels right. We don't know what the hell is going on in Cleveland. This team seems so listless, seems so lifeless. And, I would go to bat for Jerry Jeudy when he was with Denver because I saw the potential and I wanted to believe that this guy could really be a difference maker. And also, I fully understood he got a very unfair kind of cards being dealt to him, where he was drafted to eventually replace Courtland Sutton as the wide receiver 1, but he slotted in as the wide receiver 2, and then Courtland tears his ACL, and then the next year Jeudy gets an injury that's season ending. So they never could be on the field together. They couldn't really help each other, and the rookie learned from Sutton. But the way Jeudy left Denver, the way it got towards the end, I was like, all right, if he wants to leave, just let him leave. And now he's on the Browns, and he's having a bit of a career revitalization, but he's on trend to have basically the same stats that he had his best year in Denver, which was when Courtland Sutton wasn't there. And why that's important is because they were asking him after the game, you looked gassed. And he said, yeah, I'm going to run more this week so that I'm in better shape for this game against the Commanders. And it's like, but that's your job anyway. And you can't keep putting this insane amount of pressure on Amari Cooper to be Amari fucking Cooper, 1,000-yard receiver, the way he was in Oakland at the time. And then as he was in Dallas, when he's getting older and he has a problem of having a dog shit quarterback trying to get the ball to him. As bad as I think, generally speaking, Derek Carr is when it comes to some decision making, he is nowhere near as bad as Deshaun Watson has been this year. And Dak Prescott, for his inability to win in the playoffs, has been an amazing season-long quarterback, especially once it hits garbage time, if it does hit garbage time. So Watson is easily the worst. And last year, Cooper had Flacco, who is, I don't know, you just break in case of emergency. Okay, sorry, that reminded me. I wanted to say, shout out to the Colts front office for going, in the off chance that that Big Tony gets injured, let's get the guy that saved the Browns season.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. But here, they don't have that option. At best, they could put Jameis Winston in, who's going to throw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. And he's a great hype man for the team. I love the post-game conferences and the interviews and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know how the Browns have the offensive capabilities to go punch for punch with the Commanders. If the Commanders can find, because the thing is, if the Commanders can find a way to solve the problem, which, to be fair, is a monumental problem of the Cleveland Browns defense, if they can solve that problem, I don't see how the Browns can go punch for punch. And that's even with the Commanders having a dog shit terrible defense. This is a situation where the Browns desperately need Nick Chubb back. Not because Jerome Ford has looked terrible. Not at all. He's been fairly serviceable. Not as good as last year, but serviceable. They need Nick Chubb back just for that edge that Nick Chubb brings. His ability to drive through because sometimes, they say that running backs need a certain number of touches in a game to get warmed up. And they also need to feel that game hit. So you got to get the hits, and then it feels more comfortable. At the same time, for Nick Chubb, the hits that he can put on defensive players can potentially knock them out of games. Get the wind knocked out of you. You start hurting a little bit more. Then you see that guy barreling towards you again. You're like, I'm going to make Antonio Pierce business decision and not tackle him as hard. And that's that extra couple yards that you need to convert a second down and back into a first. So they desperately need Nick Chubb back, but I'm going to take the Commanders in this one just because I don't think that the Browns defense is going to be able to fully stop the Commanders offense enough for the Browns offense to keep up.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Commanders win this game as well. Jaden Daniels has looked terrific. That rushing attack looks terrific. And the one thing is this, man, Dan Quinn, you can give this guy any fucking defense. In some way, somehow, he'll find a way to make it work. Look, the Commanders' defense sucks, but what they did against Arizona was very impressive. That's a very, very good Arizona offense. And they were able to get Kyler Murray rattled up. They were able to shut down Marvin Harrison Jr. It was like after that first drive, they're like, okay, we know what we need to do. We're good. And that's the one thing about this Commanders team. They're a very good, sneaky playoff team, especially if the way that Daniels is playing. Like, if you could just get that defense play good for just one or two playoff games, ooh, watch out. And I know people are concerned about Daniels and injuries when he runs. Guys, let me read you guys Jaden Daniels' injury history. All right? Head cranial, concussion in November 2023. He took a hit from Dallas Turner in a game against Alabama. Dallas Turner, pretty good. Ankle sprain. He wanted to play the game still, but Brian Kelly decided not to. And in 2019, ankle sprain, and he played through the injury. The guy does not get injured. He's a tank. This guy's different than RG3, guys. He's not a track star. He's a football player playing football, and he just runs like a track star. So don't be concerned with Jaden Daniels' health. I think he's fine. But yeah, I just think the thing with the Browns, they're a really great defense. They're just out on the field too much. You're getting gassed. Like, defenses get more gassed than offenses. Like, when people say, how come the defenses are more tired? Because they have to do a lot more than the offenses do.
Yeah.
Like, the offenses are the ones that are pushing the pace. The defense has to follow that pace. You're running backwards. You're not running forward. When you're running forward, you have more energy. Try this one time, you people that wonder. Go to the gym, and instead of running forward, do sprints backwards. Try to do that as many times as you can. It's not fun. It's hard. You're chasing someone. You're not freaking just running away from someone. You're chasing someone. And I think that's the reason why the Browns have lost these games, is because the offense can't stay on the field. And like you said, they miss Nick Chubb. They need Nick Chubb for this offense work. I don't know if this fixes Deshaun Watson's problems. He's the worst. He's just absolutely the worst QB. I said Jacoby Brissett's one of the worst to watch. And we're saying who's the worst QB. Will Levis is not the worst. Will Levis at least is funny. Like, there's some funny shit Will Levis does. Like, I at least can laugh with Will Levis. I'm not laughing with Deshaun Watson. I am disgusted. This guy used to be one of the top young quarterbacks in the league. I've seen this guy in high pressure situations. I saw him way too much in college. This guy's good. He was a good football player. And this guy is just all of a sudden a bum. It's just absolutely horrible. Like, it wasn't too long ago, the Texans were up 24-0 against the Chiefs, and Watson was playing his mind out, and it's only because Bill O'Brien's an idiot and didn't know, I could run the football. This is why we traded for David Johnson. Like,
do you want to hear something that's super depressing?
What?
So I pulled up Deshaun Watson's contract. So his base salary this year is $1.2 million, and with the signing and the restructure and all that kind of stuff, his cap hit's only $27.9 million. But part of that is because in August of this year, they did a conversion of part of the salary into signing bonus, added a void year, so they were clearing cap space.
Mm-hmm.
But let's assume, I mean, they're probably going to do something like that again. But if they didn't, next year, his base salary is $46 million. His signing bonus is $9 million. His restructure bonus is $18 million for a cap hit of $72.9 million. They have to find a way to restructure this guy's contract again and add a void year, because if they can't, I don't know if there's a league rule because if you do 2 restructures back to back, or because of because that's the other thing. There's only 2025 and 2026 left on the contract. It may be a space issue also, but if they can't, that defense is going to get hollowed out because they're not going to be able to afford anybody who needs to get re-signed. There's absolutely no way. How they managed to, now that I think about it, how they managed to trade Denver for Jeudy and give Jeudy a new contract is mind-boggling. They basically had to do this restructure in order to sign Jeudy because Jerry Jeudy's contract, and that's the other thing, if Jeudy is just a 900-yard receiver, Jeudy's contract with them is going to now, like this year, it's a 4.7 million cap hit, but then there's 8 million, 9 million, 13 million. There's a bunch of void years on there. It's a 3-year, $52 million contract with $41 million guaranteed. He's done really nothing to deserve that. I mean, I'm just going to put that out there.
He hasn't.
But even if you are going to pay him, this is a looming problem. And a part of me is thinking to myself, I should have anticipated this because I'm in a keeper league, the Monstars one that I've told you about with Diggs, Gettas, Cup. And the past 2 years, I've just kept the Browns defense and the Niners defense because I was like, these are 2 great defenses. Why would I? It's an advantage. And anytime one of them has a bye week, the other one I can just plug in. I completely forgot that part of the reason why the Browns defense was able to continue looking so good was because Flacco was there. And to your point, this defense is getting gassed. Absolutely gassed. They're not able to get the pressures that they were able to get last year because they don't have a quarterback that is able to lead their offense on drives and sustain them and give them the breathing time. And the sad part is I have zero sympathy for the Browns because of who Deshaun Watson is.
Didn't Kevin Stefanski win Coach of the Year?
He did.
I think we need to revoke this award. I think this.
To be fair, Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year. They didn't win Front Office of the Year.
Yeah, no, I don't care. He should. The fact that this team looks even worse on offense before, and maybe Baker was right. This guy's an idiot. Doesn't know what he's doing. I can't believe I said that. Baker Mayfield's right. Crazy.
But turning from one of the defenses that I mentioned that I have in this keeper league to the other defense that I have, and then I also added the Bears in the draft because I got sucked in from Hard Knocks. I have the 49ers defense, and now we have the 49ers hosting the Cardinals, another divisional round matchup. The Cardinals have been a very weird team. Either they are, destroying teams, or they are letting teams hang in there, or they're having to battle back from disappearing. And in all of those situations, outside of the annihilating teams, the problem is that their offense seems to just disappear. And it's insane when you draft Marvin Harrison Jr., that you will start off games. Basically, there's like a weird script. They'll start off a game. Marvin Harrison will get a touchdown, and they just won't throw to him for like the next 2 quarters. And then they go, oh, wait a minute. Marvin Harrison is on this team. Let's throw to him. And it's like, look, I get it. You got Greg Dortch. You got Michael Wilson. You want them to feel happy and feel involved, similar to what we were talking about with Kyle Pitts. But at the same time, you have Marvin Harrison Jr. And I get it. You also drafted Trey Benson in whatever round that you drafted him in to potentially hopefully be Connor's replacement. But
I don't
again,
think that's ever happening.
But again,
James Connor's making sure he's never losing that job.
You drafted Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
And I get it. You have Trey McBride, but you drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. If Peyton Manning was the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals way back when, he would have just been like, where's Marvin? That's where the ball's going.
Exactly.
I get it. Kyler Murray is nowhere near the level of quarterback or thrower that Peyton Manning is, wobbly ducks and all. But I don't understand why they're not just like, hey, You see what the Giants are doing? We don't care if Malik Neighbors is clutching his ribs and is looking like he's gonna die. And he just did a hit where he is skating on the ground on the top of his on the crown of his helmet. He's getting the ball again and again and again. I don't understand why that is not happening. And the problem is, even if that was going to happen in this game, you're going up against one of the best defenses in the league. And I get it. The Niners defense has looked kind of shaky here and there. Yes, they gave a touchdown up after giving up a muffed punt, but they also had like 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery, a touchdown, like three or four sacks. Yeah. It's not a fair fight, which is crazy when you have Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., and the names that I've mentioned. The Niners are looking as though they're firing back on all cylinders again. And a game that I thought or felt would be competitive, I don't know if I can feel that same way. They've got Debo back. Juwan Jennings has not disappeared. Like I thought, okay, Debo's back. They'll bring no, they're like, Jennings is a guy. And it's one of those situations where if I was the Niners, I'm kicking myself because I could have traded Brandon Ayuk. I could have traded Brandon Ayuk, gotten something back for him, and continued to build on this roster without having to shell out the money that is eventually going to have to go to Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy has looked good even when people have not been in the lineup. Debo wasn't there. Juwan Jennings, he found him. 3 touchdowns, 100 yards. Ayuk, I think, missed the game. Kittle missed the game. We don't know when Christian McCaffrey is coming back. Brock Purdy is one of the best quarterbacks in the league because he understands. People keep saying it's just the Shanahan offense. It's just the scheme. But you have to have somebody who understands it. And you have to have somebody who can execute it. And he's executing it at the highest level right now. I'm going to take the Niners. If I had to like even pick a score, I think the Cardinals will be able to put up some points because of Marvin, because of Connor, but it won't be as like crazy lopsided as Niners Patriots would have been, but for that muff punt. But I'd probably go somewhere around like 35-17. That feels like it could be right because the Niners, if they get going and they just get going, they're just so hard to stop. But how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I got the 49ers as well. I'm with you. I don't understand. Just force the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. I could care less if there's a safety over the top making sure this guy doesn't catch the ball. You still throw it to him. The only time that you stop throwing to Marvin Harrison Jr. is when the defense says, all right, we're going to send a linebacker in the zone in that direction. We're going to make sure our nickel is also in that direction in the zone. And we'll just make sure Marvin Harrison Jr. is iced out. That's the only way you stop throwing him to him because this kid is phenomenal.
That's the other thing. It's not like he would say, no, don't throw me the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this guy's good. And you got to force feed him, build that connection with him and Kyler Murray because I think that could be a really, really good connection. And, yeah, the Niners are just a really good football team. Purdy has proved me wrong. He's really good. I remember I have this friend. I always go to him when I'm looking at the later round picks. I was like, what late round quarterback should I look at? He's like, bro, got to check out Iowa State, Brock Purdy. I was like, who? Brock Purdy, Iowa State. You got to check him out. I'm like, okay. I watched him. And I said, he doesn't throw the best ball. But somehow, some way, it gets to the receiver's hands. That was my only positive on Purdy. Everything else, I was just like, I don't see it. And stuff. And my friend's like, no, watch. This guy, he is a wizard at late round people. Like, he is so good at random late round finds. Like 9 times out of 10, this guy hits. So when I need someone weird, I go to him and he tells me, and then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll watch the tape. You told me to. But yeah, I know Purdy's looked good. He's going to be paid a lot of money. Jennings, I think he's a free agent after this year too. So that'd be I think he is and stuff. I think Jennings might be a free agent. Wouldn't mind if a team in Los Angeles signed that guy. I mean,
no, they got him. They got him for one more year. One more year.
One more year, maybe the year after. Jennings has been really good. for them. And Ayuk, I'm sure he'll turn it around. He's still a good player and stuff. But yeah, he has not looked like the Ayuk that we're used to.
No,
But yeah, no, like it's like why even rush McCaffrey at this point? Like he has double
I wouldn't.
arthritis in
I
his.
wouldn't. And
Yeah,
that's
dude, it's
not
like
because I
screw
have
it.
Jordan Mason in like 3 different dynasty leagues, but it's just like if you're winning without him, get him game reps in the sense of make sure he's in practice. Like if you need to burn somebody else's job in order to keep him on the roster so he can be practicing with the team, do it. So that by the time you do need him, he's not like rusty and out of shape in that sense.
Yeah,
But if Jordan Mason's getting the job done, barring some kind of injury to Jordan Mason, why not? If you don't need him, Christian McCaffrey should be used in a break in case of emergency situations.
yeah.
/ we are now in week 13 and the playoff run is starting because our defense is so good and our run game is so good with Mason or whoever we need to find to plug in, and our passing game is so good. But you were talking about earlier about potential Amari Cooper trade spots. Have we covered any of those teams yet, or are we going to get there?
I feel like the Rams are probably one of the only other teams that I think like. It's funny. All the teams that I would think for Amari Cooper, they're on buys. So, they're all on bye weeks. Like
that's the perfect time to make those trades.
Yeah,
but
I think the Chargers, they're a team that could use Cooper. If you're Philadelphia, fuck it. You're might as well trade for Cooper if he's so cheap. Add a third wide receiver. Wouldn't hurt to have him this year.
How much help does Jalen Hurts need?
Every help he can get, man. I think the Rams are a team that for sure would like an Amari Cooper at this point in time, especially since he's so cheap. Steelers are another team. Somehow, some way, this is going to piss me off. The Chiefs, they're going to do their voodoo magic.
Oh,
not only will they get Devontae Adams somehow, they'll somehow also get Amari Cooper. They'll get both of them. Just all this talk about, which one will they take? Fuck it, we'll just take both of them.
It's the Oakland / Las Vegas Chiefs if they get Devontae and Amari Cooper.
Yeah, right.
But I'm wondering if there's any of these teams on here that could also potentially use Kyle Pitts from a trade perspective.
Chargers.
the Chargers, but the Panthers could be, but that's in division. I don't know if they're going to do that. The Patriots absolutely could use Kyle Pitts, not because Hunter Henry is terrible or anything like that, but if you're trying to set up Drake for success, Kyle Pitts
compliment to Henry too.
Yeah, but Kyle Pitts would absolutely work on the next team that we're going to talk about.
The Bear.
No, Cole. I don't think they would move off of Cole Kmet. I don't think they.
No, not the Bears. I was gonna say, the Texans, they could be fucking assholes and just get Kyle Pitts just for the shits and gigs of it.
No, I don't think they would, because that would delay Cade Stover, and they are really high on Stover pairing with Stroud because of college. I think they're like Dalton Schultz. You're eventually going to be out of here. Like, it's going to be okay because we got Cade Stover kind of situation.
Do you think the Commanders are just like, Ben Sinnott's a year away from being Ben Sinnott?
Yeah.
Let's just get Kyle Pitts, and we can.
No. I think they're saying Ben Sinnott's a year away from being Ben Sinnott. That's why we have Ertz. That's why we signed Ertz. They figured we got Cliff Kingsbury. Kingsbury had Ertz in Arizona. They worked very well together. They're going to be able to provide that support for Jaden Daniels, and Ertz is going to teach everything that he knows about how to run a Kingsbury tight end offense to Ben Sinnott, so that when Ertz leaves, Sinnott just steps in. I think that's their strategy, and I think that works out very well for them.
Honestly, I think out of all the teams on the list, the Packers and the Giants are the only two teams that I'm like, they could trade for Kyle Pitts. The Packers don't really have, like, the Musgrave experiment. I think it's over. They're just kind of done. They don't really have a tight end.
It's just Tucker Kraft, yeah.
Yeah, if they don't have really a good tight end.
That would annoy the shit out of me.
The Giants. No, you know what?
Because it's like
I say Cowboys.
Imagine Kyle Pitts with Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, Dontavius Wicks, and sure, I guess Christian Watson minus his hamstring. Like that would Jordan Love would be really set up well for success with Josh Jacobs.
Yeah,
Like man, that would be really.
And
good.
the Giants don't really have a strong tight end. Like they're probably like, well, Waller was supposed to be our vertical threat. Kyle Pitts is just a lesser version of Darren Waller. Why not take a flyer on him?
I think they're hoping that the Theo Johnson, speaking of experiments, will
yeah, I think that experiment is something that you can wait on. I think having two tight ends is great. I still don't understand how. This is just my take. The Patriots showed us we had Gronk and Hernandez, and they were killing everybody.
Yeah.
Why don't have a team with just two good tight ends with two solid receivers? It works. And teams struggle with tight ends. This is like the team.
To be fair, I hate the Patriots, but Gronk is a once-in-a-generation talent. Not because he's this great receiver, but just because of his genetics, it's so damn hard to bring him down. And his ability to truck people and push through small DBs is really good. And Kyle Pitts has that, to be fair. He has that to a certain extent. But to your larger point of why teams don't do that, it's because it's really hard to find tight ends that are like that. That's a hard combination to find. The Patriots struck gold when they found that. It was just that one of those tight ends was batshit insane.
No, come on, John. Aren't you watching the Hulu show? He was just in the closet the whole time.
Not yet.
He was just in the closet. That's why he went crazy. He just wanted to be gay. Come on. That's why Aaron Hernandez. That's a weird narrative that they're trying to push, which is weird.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. For Kyle Pitts, I think Packers, Giants. And then also too, like I know the Cowboys have Ferguson, but they can't help themselves. They'll just be like, oh, maybe Dak needs another weapon, and they don't have any other weapon.
Just use the Shoemaker kid or whatever his name is.
No, I think the Cowboys will be crazy enough.
Is that the all-in that Jerry was promising?
You know what, fuck it. Why are we even talking about this, man? The Chiefs are just going to get everyone. They're going to get Devontae Adams. They're going to get Amari Cooper, and then somehow they'll get Kyle Pitts. They'll just be like, we're tired of having these white Travis Kelce clones. Let's just get Pitts. Fuck it.
Because they watched, I'll tell you why they're going to be able to do something like that. Because they watched 2 years of Patrick Mahomes and said, sign this guy to a 10-year contract, which will be mad cheap 6 years from now.
Yeah.
That's why they're able to do this.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, dude, fuck it, dude. They're just going to get everyone. Who cares? Like, what? Why are we even talking these hypotheticals? I swear to God, if I see I will throw my phone if I see an alert. Breaking news: Amari Cooper goes to the Chiefs, and then 2 minutes later, breaking news: Devontae Adams goes to the Chiefs. I will have to get a new phone.
No, but the funniest part is that if the Raiders do trade Devontae Adams to the Chiefs, they're gonna get fleeced, like because they're the Raiders. But maybe
I think after this predictions, we'll make our serious picks for Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper. But my pissed off reaction is I think the Chiefs are just going to grab everyone, but we'll make a serious reaction afterwards.
But maybe I shouldn't be talking too much shit about the Raiders because another divisional matchup is coming up here when the Las Vegas Raiders travel. They gotta do a steep climb. They gotta get a mile high above sea level. As they're going to go in there to take on the Denver Broncos, who in a stunning turn of events are 500 after beating the Jets by 1 point.
60 yards for Bo Nix with 1 touchdown.
That was hilarious. That was hilarious. And the best part of it is I'm talking to a Jets fan who is like, Rodgers had a good game. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, no, he played terrible. Like, don't get me wrong. Bo played terrible too, and both of them had to deal with the rain and all that kind of stuff. But one of them is a rookie playing in his 4th game, and the other one is a Super Bowl winning, MVP having, multiple 4,000-yard season having quarterback who many people have said is the greatest natural talent to play the game. I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers is supposed to have 300 yards, 4 touchdowns every week. But if Aaron Rodgers has 200 yards, has 42 pass attempts and 20 something completions and doesn't have a touchdown, yes, I mean, you can talk about the fact that he didn't throw an interception, but that's a bad day for Aaron Rodgers. Like, comparing it to other quarterbacks, fine. But the Broncos shut down the Jets offense. And Bo Nix did not make mistakes, which ultimately is the thing that can save the Broncos in any way, shape, or form. Because when you have a rookie quarterback, it's easy to take advantage of the fact that that rookie quarterback is going to make mistakes. We've seen that with Caleb. We've seen that with Bo, where he's thrown interceptions. We've seen that with Jaden Daniels. He's not making mistakes in the same vein, but he's still making mistakes. Drake May doesn't even have the opportunity. Neither does JJ McCarthy, and Michael Penix is just like, guys, I could do something, you know. But
dude, did you not see his stats, man? He handed the Kirk with a water bottle 5 times, man. That was I was impressed, man. The way he handed Kirk that clipboard too, the little touchpad
the surface.
I was all like, man, dude. And he was looking over Kirk's shoulder. He had 5.
You know what's crazy about that? You know what's crazy about that? That's actually really good practice for the Falcons offense because it's so many times just turning the ball and handing it to Bijan Robinson.
Yeah. Kirk's
but
like saying when you hand the ball up here, he likes it at the numbers. He doesn't like it up high on his chest. So make sure it's at the numbers. All right, Kirk, I got you.
But finally, speaking of which, the Broncos had success when Bo took the ball, turned, and handed it to one of his running backs. Tyler Bidet did get hurt, but he is on the mend. He's probably not playing this game after fucking having a seizure and shit on the sidelines. But McLaughlin, Javonte Williams, looking like their old selves again. I'm not sure if that was necessarily an anomaly or they're finally getting enough reps that they're getting back into form. Play your people during the preseason. That's maybe a takeaway from here. But the Broncos offense has looked good for what they should be. That's the caveat. They've looked good for what they should be the past few weeks. Last week, a couple days ago on Sunday, they did look terrible. But again, if Aaron Rodgers is having a bad day, I got to look at why he's having a bad day. It's a great defense that he's playing, and it's the weather. And Bo Nix, for what we are now getting a Bo Nix stat sheets, had a terrible day. But again, I have to look at it, and he was playing a great defense, and it was terrible weather. So for Bo, yes, bad day, but he has moved the ball in the other weeks. He is not facing a defense as good as the Jets this week around, and I'm praying to God that Max Crosby's hamstring is still acting up on him. I don't know if this is a situation where he is another one of the people who was making the business decisions that Antonio Pierce alluded to, or if that was just Davante.
Yeah.
I just know that both of them sat for the same issue, hamstring issues. Davante is not anticipated to play in this game, and as we found out earlier today, Davante Adams has requested a trade from the Raiders, and we will talk about after this about where we think Davante Adams will go.
But that means Taco Bell go with him.
Taco Bell better go with him.
Yeah,
because that's actually Colleen has kind of fallen in love with football a little bit this past offseason, but that's because we watched the Bears Hard Knocks and we watched Receivers like almost back to back. And Colleen also is, respectfully, like, I'm being nice about it, but she's a Taco Bell fiend. And I love Taco Bell as well. But my wife likes Taco Bell more than I do, which is...
Does she have the app?
She does. She just recently got the app.
Oh, the app is a game changer. Dude, you can build your own boxes on the app. This is it. And it's easy to earn points. This is why I'm a Subway truther. Subway has the best food app of all time. You can argue a wall with me. I get points for nothing. Like, I love Subway. I'll eat Subway just because the app. It's so amazing.
So she fell in love, which annoyed me. Fell in love with Davante Adams because of, one, she's like, oh my God, his family is adorable and cute, and my wife likes that stuff. And I showed her the Taco Bell commercials, and she was like, this guy's my favorite player. He's my favorite person. The only person that she likes more from the receivers group is George Kittle. Like, her ranking of them, of how she likes them, is probably Kittle, Davante, Justin Jefferson, if they had more scenes of Justin Jefferson talking
Yeah,
about
he wasn't on the
candy he
show that much.
if they had more scenes of him talking about how much candy he eats, and then he would be higher than Devontae, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown, because Colleen is also my
Dang,
wife.
Debo didn't even get ranked. She was just like, "Fuck Debo, so boring."
Oh no, she liked Debo. She liked Debo, and
Oh, okay.
again, Debo. It was his family is so cute. But there wasn't much of Debo. But my wife's emergency room nurse, and so she liked the medical stuff with Debo, which I was like, hey, there's a lot of that with him. So you'll like the medicine aspect. But then with Amon-Ra, my wife also is notoriously hates like people who are mean and bullies, and not that
Yeah.
Amon-Ra is a bully. Wait, not that Amon-Ra is, but as an offshoot of that, she really doesn't like it if it's stemming from a place of competitiveness. Where my wife is very much like, why can't we all just get along? Like if people talk to each other and find common ground and be friends and all that kind of stuff, which is again is weird. I don't know why she married me, but
Opposites attract, bro.
I suppose. But Amon-Ra does have that like competitive nature in him, and so that's why he was a little bit lower. But I hope that wherever Davante Adams goes, the Taco Bell goes with him. But it won't be going to Denver, which means that Jacoby Myers is going to be the guy that has to get stopped by Patrick Surtain. Which, listen,
I like Myers too.
All the credit in the world to Jacoby Myers. I have him on I think 3 different dynasty teams, and he has helped me win games and be competitive in the playoffs, especially last year. But I don't view Jacoby Myers as the level of talent that can give Pat Surtain too many difficulties. The problem is Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, because Denver has been weak against tight ends. And Brock Bowers, despite Chase's original hate on him in the offseason, has looked really good. Has looked really good, to the point that I'm very confused as to why he doesn't get more passes thrown to him, especially when you didn't have Davante Adams in the lineup. I'm hoping that is not rectified this week, but I think that the Broncos defense can do enough against a Gardner Minshew or an Aiden O'Connell, if O'Connell were to come into the game.
Yeah, whatever quarterback they throw out there.
This Raiders against this Raiders O-line, that I'm going to take the Broncos to pick up the win here. If the Broncos can be 3-2, and no offense, be 4-2 after week 6.
No.
Ooh, that's Sean Payton's going to be mad spicy in those interviews. But who do you got in this one?
You know how I feel. If you're a great head coach, you're going to beat Antonio Pierce. Like, I'm sorry. Sean Payton, Broncos. Like, look, the Raiders defense is trick or treat. Like, are you going to get the good Raiders defense, or are you going to get this ass Raiders defense? So the one thing is, if the Broncos let the Raiders hang around, because this is the Raiders, they're really good at, like, coming back from, like, getting their asses kicked. Like, that's the one thing about this Raiders team is they're very spunky. But we notice after spunky wins, the Raiders all of a sudden go back down to earth. They go back to being this bad team again. So I think the Broncos are showing a lot defensively that makes me confident with choosing them. I think Bo Nix has shown me a lot more. Like, I like what Bo Nix has been doing as the starting quarterback. Yeah, he makes mistakes, but look at the cast of characters around him. It's not like he has a lot besides. Yeah, not like Sutton. Like, besides Sutton, it's not like he has like a bunch of experienced dudes around him and stuff. So to me, I've been liking what the Broncos are doing. Joe Lombardi's still stuck in his ways of certain things as OC that still gives me nightmares. That's why it's hard to watch Broncos games back, because I'm just like, I know that stick route. I used to watch Keenan Allen run that all the time. Good old Joe Lombardi. But yeah, no, I just like what the Broncos are doing. I think Sean Payton's a better head coach than Antonio Pierce. Like, yeah, I get it. Pierce, Robert. I think also, too, locker room. I think the Raiders' locker room is just a mess right now.
Dude.
Like, especially when a leader like Davante Adams wants out, causes some guys to be on eggshells. Like, they're just kind of like, oh, what's going on here? Da-da-da.
That's why I'm trying to figure out if the Crosby thing is an actual injury or if it's injury plus he wants out, or if it's just he wants out and he's saying that he's got a hamstring issue. Because like if Crosby wants out, or not necessarily wants out, if Crosby wants changes, and that's not, I wouldn't say he's the leader of the defense. I would say Max Crosby is the leader of the team.
Yes.
It's him and Devontae. Like, and those are two guys that have accidentally multiple times worn the same outfit walking into the games.
Yeah.
Those are two guys, the two most vocal people on the respective sides of the ball that are saying that something needs to be changed or I want to leave. Man, like I honestly, a part of me, I get that it's division and all that. I kind of feel bad for the Raiders because it's like, no head coach really wanted the job. I don't think they really had that much of
no. They overpaid. They overpaid to get Gruden out of the Monday Night Football booth, and then Gruden's email situation, and so
right.
They never really got to say this. They overpaid for Josh. Well, they didn't overpay. They paid Josh McDaniels because I don't know what McDaniels told them. Yeah, Tom will come here. Tom's definitely coming to Vegas.
Yeah, in the ownership group.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, he came in the ownership group. He didn't came to play football for them. I think they want him as a football player and stuff. But yeah, no, the Raiders. It's just this looks bad on Pierce too because we saw this in receivers. Adams loved him. He's a player first coach, and now. When you start attacking the players as a player first coach, like there's a different role when you're like, and I've seen this a lot. When you're the manager, and then later on you're the assistant manager. The assistant manager is always the good cop. Always the, oh man, I love this person. Yeah, you got my back from that mean old manager. Da 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 da. I know this because I've always been the assistant manager, no matter where I've went, and stuff, and people look at that. And they take that and they remember you as assistant manager. Like, oh, then when you become the manager and you gotta be a little bit more stricter. Yeah. That fist bump you used to give to your one of your favorite employees, you don't give that much anymore because you don't want to play favoritism. Now, for me, I don't give a fuck. When I became manager, I was still fist bumping my boys and doing my thing. Like, look, but you do have to change a little bit. You can't be just always like, hey, man. I had to give you this write-up. But, dude, I thought we were cool. Hey, you broke the rules. If you break the rules, I got to give you a write-up. It is what it is. You can take it with a grain of salt. And that's the thing with Antonio Pierce. Now he's realizing you're no longer the substitute teacher. You're no longer the guy filling in. You are the guy. They fought for you to be the guy. They looked at you as a player-first head coach. And now the best player on your team that's not named Max Crosby wants out. He's done. He's over this. He said, hey, you call him out, business decisions on the team and stuff like that. I've been watching Max Crosby's podcast, by the way. Horrible fucking watch. It's just his two friends. This is literally Max Crosby's podcast. All right, guys, welcome to the Rush. Yeah, man. Guys, what do you got to say? Max, you're fucking great. Oh, Max, man, they were holding you all play. Max, you're so great. I fucking loved it, Max. Thanks, guys. Oh, man, this is great. Everyone loves just a Max Crosby love fest down that. They talk about college football every once in a while, but it's literally a Max Crosby love fest. But yeah, no, I think the Broncos, Sean Payton, he's a great coach. I get it. Bountygate, whatever. Yeah, you can hate him for that, but he's still a better coach than Antonio Pierce.
And the other thing that people are forgetting is, even with Javonte and Jaleel not looking that great, and granted, Javonte kind of on his way out. This is a contract year for him. So especially now after how he's been playing, people were like, oh, Tyler Beatty may be the spark, or maybe the Broncos need to sign somebody or potentially trade. Audric Estime is on IR. And when he gets back, they're going to be using him a lot. And he is a really good rusher, a really good running back. And he's going to have some growing pains because it's, rookie coming in and all that kind of stuff. But that the running game is not even like, it's not looking the way it's supposed to be looking right now. When he gets back, if they still are bad, we can have the conversation. But speaking of teams that need people back, my goodness, the LA Rams absolutely are missing Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. And it's weird because Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Tyler Johnson, and Jordan Whittington, they haven't been playing bad. That's the thing. It's they're making catches. It's not that they're playing bad. It's just that Puka and Cooper provide something that's just it's that je ne sais quoi. It's that you can't really define it. No, you can. It's run after
I can
catch.
tell you. Yeah.
It's run after catch.
The rat.
That's what it is. And the thing is that those receivers are possession receivers.
Yep.
They're guys that make catches. Tutu Atwell, yes, he has speed. He can be a bit of a burner, but they are not the kind of yak guys that Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are with their level of shiftiness. There's a reason why they are the wide R4, the wide R5, now being pushed into 2 and 3 roles. And Demarcus Robinson just has to be the one. But the Rams have been trying to continually push this offense through the Kyren Williamses of the world. And their success, but if it blows up big. And we saw that against the Bears because, yes, Kyren Williams looks really good when he's on, but if he can't get the job done on those second and shorts or those third and shorts, they're not. If you can't convert to first down, the Rams offense can be stopped, and the Bears let them stay in the game. That was, I think, one of my takeaways from that game was that the Bears really allowed the Rams to potentially snatch victory from the jaws of defeat when they should have been putting the gas on them. And it's crazy because the Bears had one of their best offensive showings, which could be an indictment of the Bears more than it's an indictment of the Rams. The question is going to be whether or not the Packers are going to be a team that takes their foot off the gas. Now, I think anybody and everybody, if you put these two names up, would take the one on the right because the one on the right is Josh Jacobs. The one on the left is DeAndre Swift. I think anybody would take the Bears receivers, though, over the Packers receivers outside of maybe Jaden Reed. This is an interesting situation because Jordan Love came back, looked good, but then disappeared, but then looked good, but then also threw interceptions. And 4 interceptions is a lot, but I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt because you were coming back from the injury. Now there's a week going by, more practice, more time to heal up, all that kind of stuff. Can you come into the SoFi and handle the Rams? The Rams are the underdogs here. Made another issue there with the coloring of the money lines, but the Rams are the underdogs, and I can definitely understand why, because the Bears let them hang in the game when they should have put their foot on the gas, and I don't think Matt LaFleur is going to do that. I think Matt LaFleur wants to beat Sean McVay, and I think he enjoys being able to beat Sean McVay, and I think he knows that he can beat Sean McVay. Now, to your point earlier, the Packers have to figure out what the hell is going on at tight end because you can't have every single passing attempt be going to one of these wide receivers, especially now that Christian Watson's more than likely going to be ruled out. It's because it's a situation where Christian Watson, he may not be doing much when it comes to stat sheet stuff, but he actually does do a lot when it comes to acting as a decoy. And acting as a decoy is a very underrated aspect of football. There are players that have made careers off of just being decoys. Travis Kelce right now is earning, well, until what just happened, was earning game checks because he was being a decoy. I'm going with the Packers here. But if the Packers can figure out that tight end situation, they're really good in the NFC. How are you feeling about this one?
Do you know Matt LaFleur's record against Sean McVay?
You're really good at coach records. So no, I do not.
It is 4-0 against Sean McVay. This guy loves beating.
I know where we're going.
Yeah, it's the Packers. Like, look, the one thing that you mentioned too, the other thing that Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua provide is the runs become predictable with Kyren Williams because McVay could do those jet sweep actions with Cooper Kupp and with Puka Nacua and you knew one of those two would get the football and stuff. Like it was a possibility if the right read was there, hand off to Kupp, hand off to Nakua, and do a jet sweep. When you see Demarcus Robinson running a jet sweep, he's not getting no fucking. If you're a defense, you're like D-Rob's running. Oh hell no, I'm just shooting the gap. I know it's going to this person and stuff. Like Tutu Atwell, once you see that guy running for a jet sweep, you're like, oh yeah, he's getting it because he's super fast and shifty, and it's too predictable. They don't even do that running back thing that they love to do with Cooper Kupp, where they put Cooper Kupp in the backfield and he does like an angle route, or he does a red zone scissors route or something to get open. Like that's the one thing that they're missing, is because these receivers are not Cooper Kupp and not Puka Nacua. And Sean McVay, he's still going to call his offense. It's not changing. Like, and really, to be honest, it should have changed for him. He likes this offense where my receivers catch balls short and they're supposed to explode and run for touchdowns. That's what they are. And you hit it the nail on the head. The reason why they're not seeing these results is they have a bunch of possession dudes, and Tutu Atwell can be that type of guy, but he's not a possession dude, so he's going to drop the ball every once in a while. And that's the problem with this team, is just that they're missing the Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. If they have those players, are good. And when you look at the Packers, they came back after getting their asses kicked. They could have won that football game. They looked really good. I don't even think that loss should be on Jordan Love's record. Everyone's making fun. Oh, 0-2. Like, no, I think he's 0-1 still, in my opinion. Like, he looked good in that game. And maybe eat my words up. Maybe you shouldn't bring him back. Like, no, he looked good. And the Packers, they just have this fun receiving core. I love Dobbs. I love Wicks. I love.
I mean, it's like. I mean, not to interrupt you, but like, if you think about it, part of the reason why the Vikings were able to get so ahead is because of Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Oliver, Munt, Naylor. The Rams don't have anybody receiving wise that is as good as the first two names.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and of course, like I was gonna say, I love Jaden Reed. This guy is so fun to watch. Like, this Packers team is just good, and they're just missing like a tight end and stuff to really unlock that passing game. But Matt LaFleur is 4-0 against Sean McVay, and I think he becomes 5-0 against Sean McVay. And whose house? This is going to be a Packers house game, because there is a lot of Packers fans in Southern California. These are the Wisconsin transplants that said, oh, we want to move to a sunny state. They made a bunch of money doing whatever they were doing in Wisconsin, and they come out here. Like, I swear, in Southern California, it makes sense that we have a lot of Raiders fans. It makes sense we have a lot of Niners fans. A lot of them are Northern Californians going down to Southern California. That tends to be the trend. If you live in the Southern California, you move up to Northern Cal. You live in NorCal, you move down to SoCal. We have a lot of Cowboys fans. Makes sense. A lot of Texas people come to California. I don't know why we have a shit ton of Green Bay fans. I think it's just because they've always had a lot of good quarterbacks.
That's probably a lot of what it is.
Favre is one of the fan favorite players of all time for most people, until we found out post career.
And then also probably, the Rams. The Rams weren't there for a while.
Yeah.
The Chargers were down in San Diego.
Yeah.
Good quarterbacks from Green Bay, and also probably some Wisconsin people moved to California.
Yeah.
Better weather.
So this game, whose house? It'll be Packers' house, and I think the Packers win. So yeah.
But the Rams were talking about their wide receiver woes. A team but they have the wide receiver woes, good to great quarterback. A team that doesn't have wide receiver woes, but does not have a great quarterback, is the New York Giants. Now, the question will be, and I think that's part of why this line is the way it is. I think it would be a little bit tighter because, again, this is a Tuesday evening that we're doing this. The question is going to be Malik Neighbors with the concussion, because the Giants are trying to get that man killed. I don't understand I do understand the philosophy of he's just so good, throw him the ball all the time. But it's like, yes, but you can use him in other ways. The
Yes.
Cardinals are doing the flip side of it, where it's like we're going to use him just enough to get some good numbers out of him, and then we're just not going to throw him the ball and just use him as a pure decoy. The Giants are on the opposite end of the spectrum, where they're like, we're going to throw to this guy so many times that he's going to get hit over and over and over again, to the point that he feels that the team is so much on his shoulders that he's going to stretch out to get a bad pass, and he's going to get a concussion in the process. And it's like, if it wasn't the concussion that took him out, it would have been another hit that hurt his ribs more than they already were hurting. And it was like, almost thank God he got a concussion, which sounds like a crazy sentence to say, versus getting a rib injury, because that one would have been, he's on the shelf for longer, but two, a concussion, you can come back from it. A rib injury, that's really hurting you. Like a concussion, you will feel nausea, you will feel different things in your head, you will have the headaches, but your body is not going to be hurting as much. Now, granted, I've never had a concussion, so I don't know if that's 100% accurate. You may be feeling your body maybe sending you weird signals because there's something going on in your brain with the concussion symptoms. But if I was a player, I would much rather have a concussion over a rib injury if I'm a relatively young player where I can afford to take some of those hits and I'm not named Tua Tagovailoa. So I think this line is interesting because I'm thinking that Vegas, at least for right now, is anticipating that Neighbors does not play. However, that was a Thursday night game. This is going to be a Sunday game. So it's going to be over a week. It's possible that he plays. If he plays, this game is tighter. But the Seattle offense is really good. And if anybody had any doubts, Kenneth Walker took his proverbial nuts and put them on the table against Detroit. And I was saying this in the chat. Imagine running for 80 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then you catch 4 passes for about 40 yards or so, and your team loses because the Seattle defense just could not stop, I don't know, superstars like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, and David Montgomery. And if the Giants don't have Malik Neighbors, and even if they did have Malik Neighbors, I do not anticipate that the Giants are able to put up the same amount of points, but also to keep the pressure on the way that the Lions can. And the Seahawks are in a position where they took Jackson Smith and Jigba last year. People were like, he's barely getting used. What the hell's going on? And it was just like, yeah, but a year from now, Tyler Lockett could potentially be in search of a job. And Tyler Lockett could easily sign a 1-year contract or a 2-year contract with another team because he is still good as a receiver. But JSN is providing a level of dynamic, just agility that Lockett, unfortunately, Father Time is undefeated, no longer has. I'm taking the Seahawks in this one. I think it could be closer if Neighbors is playing. If Neighbors isn't playing, no disrespect to Wan'Dale Robinson, because, man, you're showing that you can be a solid wide receiver too with Neighbors, even though I think he can anticipate the writing on the wall where he's like, if Neighbors looks really good, they're going to take another wide receiver sometime in the draft. My job is threatened. I really got to show out. But I can't see a world where Wan'Dale as the one is going to be able to stop, single-handedly kind of beat this Seahawks defense, even with Singletary maybe having a bounce-back game. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, the Seahawks were missing a lot of key players on that defense. They were missing their stud rookie Byron Murphy, Uchenna Nwosu. They're just missing a lot of players, and that's why I think the Lions were able to run the score up on them. And if they get a couple of those pieces back, I think they'll be fine. But not just Jackson Smith and Jigba that showed up, like freaking Jig Bobo. This motherfucker is showing up too. Like this guy, I'm all like, I know he did good for them last year, but geez, man, this guy is just as good too when it comes to getting open. I was just like, man, what this Jake Bobo character? Like, he's good too. And LaVisca Chenault, he can also still get open too, I guess. Like, I just think Seattle just has too much firepower for the Giants to handle, especially that Giants defense. Like, the defense can play up when they need to, but this Seahawks team, they just feel a little bit more complete. And it's just, if their defense just had a couple of their key players, I feel like that line score may have been a little bit closer, especially because Ben Johnson was, I don't know what the hell, he had a short fuse in the fourth quarter. He was just calling random ass plays and stuff. So I think that the Seahawks will be able to stop Daniel Jones. I think they will be able to stop the New York Football Giants, and I think the offense of the Seahawks will still be humming, get their 23 points, maybe more.
Now, one
Kenneth
thing
Walker, Charbonnet, what a combination. We talk about bad combination. What a combination these kids are.
And one thing to think about that is somewhat relevant is the Giants have allowed they're 12th in the league for yards allowed, and in between them is the Browns as slightly better, and then very slightly worse. I mean, like by 10 yards or so, is the Ravens. They've allowed 6 passing touchdowns. They have 1 interception. But what's interesting is they are not that bad when it comes to stopping the run. They are allowing yardage around 400, almost 500 yards, 475, which puts them at 15th. So middle of the road.
Yeah.
But the rushing touchdowns allowed is 1. I don't know if that's gonna be the same after.
You convinced me. Anytime touchdown, Kenneth Walker. Add that to the Chase Oliver parlay. Add that right now. What under Derrick Henry? What was it? Under Derrick Henry?
Yeah, your parlay, the True Heel Heat Sports Entertainment Chase approved parlay for this week right now is under Derrick Henry yardage, over Stephon Diggs yardage, anytime touchdown, Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, that's a great parlay. I like that. That's great. I think that's a great parlay. I think that's hitting.
Yeah, you know what? That I think for next week, I think what we should do is each come up with a parlay. Like we'll say 3 to 4 legs, 3 to 4 leg parlay. We'll put it through. And to show you that money is where the mouth is, I mean I don't bet large amounts anyway, but I will put that as a bet, each week. But turning to a game that could easily see some people hit their unders when it comes to yardage. We have the Dallas Cowboys.
We have to do this game, Mike. Can't we switch from Monday Night Football? I know Troy wants to see his Cowboys. I want to see Mahomes versus the Saints.
We have the Dallas Cowboys coming to town to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is Sunday night, right?
Yeah. That's what the Collinsworth.
Yeah, that's why I do the call.
Yeah.
Playing to play the Steelers, and finally, Justin Fields takes a loss. You know what's crazy?
Justin Fields game was coming.
You know what's crazy? I can't even say it was his fault. Like, I can't really say. He was safe with the ball.
Minus that one play.
He was safe with the ball. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, passing touchdown. He did not look bad. Pickens got yardage. Pickens causing a fucking fumble. Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, you already have a quarterback that barely throws the ball. He is throwing it. Ball security is a very important thing, sir.
Yeah.
But the Steelers did not look bad against the Colts. And the Colts suddenly looked really good with Joe Flacco. So it was one of those situations where the Steelers defense was like, okay, like we got to help these guys be able to go punch for punch. Now they have the Cowboys coming to town. And, every year we can say that the Cowboys will be able to do a get-right game against the New York Giants. Which is exactly kind of what they did. But now they're facing a very good defense. Very, very good defense. And Rico Dowdle looked good last week. Yeah. Being the RB1, he was out-snapping and out-touching Ezekiel Elliott at a very large margin. And that was, admittedly, one of the things that the Cowboys said they wanted to do over the course of the year. They wanted to work him in as running back one. And it seems to be paying off, at least it did last week against the Giants. The question now is, will it work this week against the Steelers? I'm not 100% sure if Alex Highsmith will be back for the Steelers. I know the Steelers are going to be missing some other pieces, though. They have a bunch of injuries on that defense, but nobody plays at 100%. The question is, can you stop the team with what you have? And Tomlin can coach up anybody. We are seeing that with Justin Fields. And we saw that in I don't know what podcast it was, but he was talking about he loves coaching.
Hayward's podcast.
Yeah, he loved coaches that run away from the job of coaching. He was being sarcastic with saying what he loved. But McCarthy, on the flip side, has a huge problem when it comes to being able to coach up players. McCarthy is a coach that has, to a large degree, skated by on the talent of the team and has not really done a great job of being able to coach people up. Dak has looked good, but if you only looked at stat sheets, you'd be like, he's a great quarterback, but he's disappeared. That Ravens game is very telling. He had to use a lot of garbage time to be able to get the stats that he ended up having. This is a situation where I think the Steelers are rightfully favored because they have enough to be able to go against this Cowboys defense that has looked very vulnerable, very, very vulnerable. And the Cowboys offense, I don't know if they have enough to go up against a Steelers defense that is missing pieces, because even when they're missing pieces, they're doing a pretty good job containing teams. I'm taking the Steelers on this one, but I'm hoping that because I have Dak and CeeDee Lamb as a quarterback wide receiver combination in a redraft league, I'm hoping that they can at least connect for a touchdown. 2 would be nice, but I'll take what I can get against a very stingy Steelers defense. How about you?
Mike Tomlin is 4-1 against Mike McCarthy. Only one loss.
There it is.
It was in the Super Bowl. And honestly, this Cowboys team, the get-right game against the Giants is supposed to be where you blow out the Giants. And every doubt I have with this team goes away. You caused more doubts in the win. I don't know how you did it, but you did. You caused more doubts in the win. I don't even know if Parsons is fully healthy to play this game.
I think he's missing this game.
Yeah, so no Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence. I don't know his status at this moment of time either. Like, I'm sorry, man. You got to get at Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a hard quarterback to contain when he gets going. And honestly, this is going to be an ugly game. Collinsworth is going to be half asleep at the booth. Mike Tirico is going to be carrying the game. You're going to be like, Chris, so if you love black and white footage, we're going to see plenty of black and white footage during this game because of the history of these two teams. What year are we in the NFL that we have to have a historic game like this on Sunday Night Football? I understand if it's NFL 100th year celebrating this shit. Like, what the hell? This is not a Sunday night game. Like, Jesus. Like, I'm looking at Texans Bills. They couldn't put this on Sunday night? Like, what? Like, CBS protected that one? I'm like, I don't even say Rams and Packers is a better Sunday night game.
This morning, the Cowboys, there's a report, and this is from the Cowboys page itself, that they're looking to sign KJ Henry from the Bengals practice squad, who is a former 5th-round pick of the Commanders in 2023, made his way to the Bengals after being claimed off of waivers a few months later, was re-signed to the practice squads, et cetera, but he is, I guess, he was an all-ACC talent for the Clemson Tigers, and yeah, I don't know if but that tells me that
he was a good player in college. He was.
But it tells me that they're anticipating that Parsons will not be playing.
Yeah, no, I think the Steelers are winning this game. It's Tomlin's a better coach than McCarthy. McCarthy somehow beat him in that Super Bowl. Well, no, not somehow. He had a quarterback. What's his name? Aaron something. I don't know. Like, he's just like really good at football. Like, he had the highest completion percentage in that Super Bowl. Oh my God, he's just, I don't know. I think Aaron Rodgers, yeah, that guy. Oh yeah, that's why McCarthy won this game. And yeah, there's no here we go for this game. It's oh no. As TJ Watt comes in for a sack. Yeah, Steelers. I had the Steelers in this game. It's just more if Justin Fields keeps playing like this. Sorry, Russell Wilson, you just might as well retire. Just get the papers.
Yeah,
make your money.
I
Send them to the league.
I can't anticipate that. Even if Russ comes back, that he takes the job back.
This is a way more important question for Russell Wilson's future.
Oh boy,
Russell Wilson. What do you think he does post playing career? Start his own podcast? Oh yeah, that sounds like him. He would start his own podcast.
I was gonna say start his own church, but okay.
That's his podcast, his church. He's gonna say that in the first episode. Hey guys, I just want you guys to believe in everything that you're doing in life. You know, meditate the day, focus on everything. You know, he's gonna do that. But which network is going to try to get Russell Wilson to either be, and do you think Russell Wilson will be a person on the desk, the pregame guy, or is he going to try to be a commentator? Which network? And this could be pros and college, like either or. But I don't think college, because he doesn't really have like the college resume.
Yeah.
Like, so
I would say I think CBS.
CBS, okay.
I think he would want to be a game commentator, and he would push for it, and they would make him a desk person.
Yeah.
I think wherever he signs, they make him a desk person, even though he is fighting to be a commentator.
Him, Burleson, Matt Ryan, and JJ Watt. That's not bad. I like that.
Yeah, two quarterbacks that famously lost to the Patriots.
Yeah. Well, Wilson got the Super Bowl ring. You know, he got one against the Broncos. I mean, I didn't forget that game, John.
Yeah.
Doug Baldwin, he broke 3 tackles, got it in. So, oh man, not like Mahomes though. Yeah, Collinsworth.
You know what? It's the Unlimited podcast.
Oh, I love it, dude. Dude, do you think Russell Wilson will also have his own YouTube channel? Do you think Sierra convinces him? Gotta get the YouTube channel, and I can see Russell Wilson's first video. As you guys know, I love my Danger Witch from Subway. Be careful though, it's spicy. So today's episode, we're going to be cooking the Danger Witch, and he shows us how to make the homemade Danger Witch sandwich. I see this. This is happening. I swear, Russell.
I would not be surprised if he tries to pull. Granted, he's doing it while still playing, but he tries to pull a little bit of the Steph Curry route and try to become like a bit of a TV movie producer kind of thing. And because there is a ripe space for Christian content. Like there's money to be made.
Oh hell yeah!
And those productions are not that expensive. So Steph Curry has made way more money than Russell Wilson, but the cost of making that kind of content, not that expensive. And look, I'm not super religious. My family is, but I get it. This is not a knock against his religion or his faith.
No, there's a lot of money to be made.
It's just more that, hey, that's his personality.
Yeah.
He has very strong beliefs. It seems to line up very well for him. And he has Hollywood kind of connections because of the ads, because of his wife, all that kind of stuff. It seems like a natural fit for him. He can do the commentating on CBS or NBC or whatever network wants to sign him. Adds a little bit of extra
my
money.
job, John. Come on, that's rude of you, man. I mean, how am I going to watch Mahomes if he's not? Come on,
I'm just waiting for the God that would annoy the shit out of me. Him as a regular guest on the Manning cast, I would just annoy shit out of me. But you know what? I don't think that would ever happen because Peyton would be like, "There's no way in hell I am letting him on this show as a regular person." Tom was fine because I beat Tom multiple times, and I have the playoff record against Tom.
And Eli can talk shit to Tom too, the funniest Manning cast moment was all Tom and Peyton were talking about rings that were stolen from them, that they should have won and stuff. And then Eli just randomly goes, I think I have 2 of those, Tom. He just randomly says that. I started dying. And you could tell Brady, like Peyton, he does the little he's like he covers his mouth with his paper that he uses and stuff at the time because he had like a paper for like the things. And Tom, you could just tell he just like no sold that comedy.
You
He was
got
just
it,
like,
bro. You gotta find me the clip of that. Like,
yeah,
you
I
have
forgot
to
what
find
game
me
it
the clip.
was. It was the Eagles. It was like against the Eagles. Like it was like Giants Eagles, I want to say. Or
Well, like
something.
Russell Wilson's gonna be on that, like acting like he really contributed to that Super Bowl. It's like, yeah, I mean, you scored, but like that's because one, the Denver defense was terrible, and they didn't have Von Miller.
Do you remember
And
who the
your
Super Bowl
offense,
MVP was?
what?
Do you remember who the Super Bowl MVP was?
No, who was it?
Malcolm Butler, the linebacker.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it was Butler. Ridiculous. Peyton and Peyton was getting throttled by the Legion of Boom, one of the historically great, like arguably the second or third greatest defense in the history of the NFL.
Dude, that secondary, like if you played like the year after they won the Super Bowl, that Madden, I forgot what Madden it was. I want to say it was Madden. No, because they called it Madden 25. So it was Madden 25, either Madden 25 or Madden 16. Good fucking luck, dude. If you played the Seahawks, you just knew your quarterback was going to throw 5 interceptions that game. They were so fucking good in that game.
Like the thing is, like I'll get into the debate with people because like that's what I'm gonna stick up for the team. But like I personally would put the no-fly zone above the Legion of Boom because the no-fly zone had absolutely nothing to work with on the offensive side of the ball. The Legion of Boom at least had a competent offense that could move the ball. Like, I'm not saying that Russell Wilson did absolutely nothing in that Super Bowl, but like you had a defense that was able to give you great field advantage and you were able to take advantage of the field advantage.
Yeah.
In the case of the no-fly zone, they had to win games by getting forced fumbles and interception pick 6 returns. Like they had to get fumble recoveries for touchdowns and they had to score pick 6s in order to win the games. And look, Peyton Manning's my favorite quarterback of all time, and I will put him as my personal GOAT. But I'm fully willing to acknowledge that he was dog shit terrible in that season. The only saving grace was that he was better than Brock Osweiler because he was able to look at a defense and go, yeah, no, that guy's going to move there. I should change out into a run play. And Brock Osweiler does not have that strategy. But I'm assuming you're taking the Steelers in this one.
Oh yeah. No, I can't choose a count. Like they didn't blow out the Giants like I thought they would. They like I like them as a team. I do like the Cowboys, but when you're missing a guy like Parsons and Lawrence, like if Lawrence doesn't play, those are 2 crucial pieces of slowing down Justin Fields. Like Micah Parsons is really good at edge contain. So he's one of the best players in the fucking league. And DeMarcus Lawrence is really good still at his old age. Every year, I swear, people want to write out DeMarcus Lawrence. And I'm like, why do we keep trying to write this guy off? He's good. It's like Khalil Mack. Oh, he's old. Yeah, he's still good. It doesn't matter how old he is. He's still good at football. Like edge rushers, they're like quarterbacks. They can kind of play a little bit old. I mean, Calais Campbell. This dude's still doing his thing. And he's still productive for whatever team. Like, yeah, he's on the Dolphins. But he was probably one of the better players for the Dolphins when I was seeing for that Monday night game. So yeah, man, I can't choose it. But you know what's funny? Kirk Cousins gets the Kohl's love. Like everyone says that he does Kohl's. Russell Wilson's clothing line was at Kohl's. Like Sierra and him had their Christian clothing line at Kohl's, and then Russell Wilson had his 3 kids Nike shirts all at Kohl's, like the 3 shirts and stuff. Like they didn't last long. I can tell you that because I think the year in Denver wasn't as well. But yeah, I don't see Kirk Cousins with any clothing line at Kohl's.
Yeah, that's a very missed opportunity on behalf of Kohl's.
I think one of the coolest things that I got from Kohl's was so like those graphics that we put like in the aisles, like especially if it's a celebrity graphic.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, like one of my retail jobs is Kohl's. When I was working there, they had the UFC one for like TJ Dillashaw and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. They used to wear Van Heusen. We still kind of sell Van Heusen, not so much anymore. So I remember TJ Dillashaw got busted for EPO, and then Van Heusen, he lost all his sponsorships. And so pretty much they were getting rid of the graphics. And I said, hey, can I have that graphic? And they just gave it to me. So it's like in my man cave. It's like Yeah, but I got rid of all like the Van Houston logos and stuff. I have my one friend that's really like a really good artist. He
Yeah,
put like the cage and he put like UFC over it and
gotcha.
stuff. So yeah, he did that. So it's like in my man cave of all my
Nice.
other random posters that I have. It's kind of like a gym. It's not really like a man cave. It's like a gym that I go to when I feel lazy and I don't want to drive to my actual gym.
Yeah.
Like it's also like a storage spot, so it's kind of hard to work out in there. But it works out. But yeah, I'm kind of insulted that my boy Russell Wilson doesn't get the Coles love like Kirk Cousins does. Like, come on, man. He is Mr. Coles. His wife is like a model for like half of our fucking clothing line. I see her every day.
There you go. There you go. But moving from a team that has
Oh
looked good,
man, I'm calling this game up.
has looked good, and now has some injuries. We go to a team that has looked not that good for them. I'll caveat that, not that good for them, and now has some injuries. We are, of course, talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, where Patrick Mahomes said, "I am so good. I am that. I am him. I am so good that I am going to take out my wide receiver one after my running back one went on IR last week, so that there is more pressure on me, and maybe it'll help wake up my boy Travis, because Rashee Rice." They have not confirmed yet whether or not it is a torn ACL, whether he's going to be going on IR. Even
Yeah, they're kind of trying to find options for him to see if he can play.
yeah, but I don't think he's definitely not going to be playing this week.
Oh
I
no, not
can't
this one, but
anticipate
to play
there's
for
a
the rest of the
way.
season.
Yeah, but they now get to host the New Orleans Saints when the Saints come marching in to Arrowhead. And I'm not sure why I just now figured out that I could make that joke, and I will be abusing it every single time the Saints are the away team when the Saints come marching in, and then I will name the home field. But actually, no, it's not Arrowhead; it's Geha Field at Arrowhead or whatever the hell it is. But I said this during the offseason, and I said this after week one. I said this after week two, and I am being proven right. If Derek Carr can play mistake-free football, the Saints look really good. But if Derek Carr starts playing mistake-full football, the Saints look really bad. And Derek Carr is now regressing and starting to throw those interceptions like only Derek Carr can. And usually this happens right around this time. You and I would know this from the years of facing him
Yeah.
against the Raiders. Right around the start of like the midpoint of the season, he starts to throw those picks. I don't know what happens. I don't know. It's like he just loses focus, where it's like the first couple weeks he's like on it, and then he just something happens, and he starts throwing interceptions. He starts putting receivers in bad spots, and they'll start to disappear. And then towards the end of the season, he remembers, I got to play well enough to keep my job for another year, and turns it back on. And then people were like, oh, Derek Carr is this great quarterback. Now, here is a situation where they have to go up against a really good defense. But the question is going to be, can the offense, similar to what we were talking about with the Browns, but nowhere near as bad, can the offense do enough to allow the defense to rest? Because when you have players like Chris Jones, like Karlaftis, like McDuffie, they need breathers. Every player needs a breather. And those players, when they're on, but they need those breathers. Can the Mahomes offense, without Rashee Rice, without Pacheco, do enough to win? Mm-hmm. Yes, they did last week against the Chargers, but to be fair to the Chargers offense isn't that great. And on top of that, the Chargers were playing with a partially hobbled quarterback one. I'm not going to hold that against the Chargers. But I'm not going to use that as praise for the Chiefs. They got super lucky off of an Xavier Worthy touchdown that allowed them to get the lead and keep the lead against the Chargers. The question is going to be, can Andy Reid scheme up some stuff? Because the Saints defense is really good. This money line feels right it feels like, yeah, Saints should be underdogs, but it does feel closer than, one of the ones up above. Like, it feels closer than, say, Bengals Ravens, because the Saints and the Chiefs match up in such a way that I trust the coaching in this kind of a situation when the chips are down. And I trust that Travis Kelce, when he's told, okay, now you really do need to do stuff instead of just being a decoy, will do the things that need to be done. Because when he was asked to do that against the Chargers, all of a sudden, after getting, one catch or two catches the past couple weeks, and in some situations, just barely being used, all of a sudden it's 7 catches on 9 targets for 89 yards out of nowhere. We had not seen this the entire season. I trust the Chiefs to be able to handle this, and I trust Andy Reid to be able to coach way better than Dennis Allen. I'm taking the Chiefs on this one. Absolutely, in Monday Night Football. How about you?
So, Derek Carr's career record against Patrick Mahomes is 1-8.
Well, shit.
But Mahomes has not been playing his best football. I'm going to read you a stat from another quarterback. 68% completion percentage, 930 yards, 6 total touchdowns, 4 INTs, 85.7 QB rating. This quarterback is Jalen Hurts for the Eagles. Yeah. Now, Patrick Mahomes.
The only reason why I know that is because I've been in conversations that Daniel Jones is playing at roughly the same level as Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, but Patrick Mahomes, 68% completion percentage, 904 passing yards, 6 total touchdowns, 6 INTs this year, 89.7 QB rating. He is not playing the best Mahomes football.
No.
And I do think the missing addition of Rice will hurt this game. And Mahomes needs to clean it up. And it's crazy. Mahomes is still like one of the top MVP favorites, which I find ridiculous. Like, this is just based off name value alone.
Weird. Yeah, that's weird.
He's still one of the top 2 or 3 MVP votes that you can look. I'm just saying this now.
That's actually super weird. When you've got Josh Allen, you've got Lamar, you've got CJ Stroud, you've got Jaden Daniels.
And then also, let's not forget Baker and Sam Darnold playing well too.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Saquon can also make a case as like that non-quarterback.
None of he's only going to get 10 touches a game.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. He can make a case. I'm just saying. He's a guy that can make a case. He's one of those guys. T.J. Watt can also make a case too for being just the best player in defense. But yeah, Mahomes has just not been playing well, and he needs to play well against the Saints defense. But ultimately, like you said, it's Derek Carr. I don't trust Derek Carr to take advantage of what the Saints defense is going to be giving him, because I think they're going to gift them great field possession. I really do. But I don't think the Saints will capitalize on this great field position they will be getting. And also, it's Monday Night Football. It's the Chiefs in prime time. The refs are ready for this one. They got that. Oh, you think, no, they're ready, bro. They got this. This is great. Chiefs prime time game and stuff. Like, yeah, they're not the fun Chiefs we all remember, but they're still the Chiefs at the end of the day. And if Derek Carr was still playing like he was week 1 and week 2 and mistake-free football, I would honestly just choose the Saints, but I have no good faith the Saints are going to win. Mahomes is past the bad Mahomes game theory that I always have, where he always just plays. And he did that against back-to-back weeks. He played bad against the Chargers. He played bad against the Falcons. Yep. Now we're getting back. Just like Burrow's done with September. Oh, September's here. I can't play good football. Mahomes is the same way. It's going to be October. This Monday night, Kelce, give me the Chiefs. I can't choose the Saints here.
Give me the situation where the Saints currently have Taysom Hill is questionable, Tyrann Mathieu is questionable, Demario Davis is questionable, Willie Gay is questionable. Ooh. They've got 2 linebackers as questionable. Now, granted, this is on a Tuesday. We've got Honey Badger as questionable. They've got Taysom Hill as questionable. I mean, A.T. Perry is questionable as well, but like they don't really use him that much. Like their starting right guard is questionable as well. He's listed as a center, but he's questionable as well. This is primed for Karlaftis and Jones to go off, a couple little DB safety blitzes from McDuffie to try to change things up a little bit, get the pressure on there. It's primed for them to look good, and then because of the defense and people to be like, oh, Pat's back, man.
Yeah,
Like he beat the Saints. The Saints defense is so great. He beat and people are going to overlook what's the Saints are marching into Arrowhead with, which is a hampered defense. That's why the line feels right, even though Rice and Pacheco are out.
Kareem Hunt looked good too. Well,
Yeah.
I'll say he looked good. I don't know what happened. Maybe Stefanski's just terrible as a head coach. Maybe I have to put him on my bad coach. We need to do a special coach tier list where we just list off the coaches. I can just rant how much I hate most of them. There'll be a lot of bad coaches in the tier list. You'll be like, oh, who's a good coach? You'll find out.
I mean, listen, as long as you got Sean Payton where he should be in the good coach list.
Yeah, he is. That's what he's a good coach. He just doesn't have to look. Harbaugh and Payton are on the good coach. Just they don't have their roster tier list, which is they're a good coach. They
And
don't have their roster. That's
what I loved about the Jets win. That's what I loved about the Jets win, because I'm like, they were able to hold the Jets to 9 points, no touchdowns, and he doesn't have the roster that he wants.
Yeah,
he's still building it
because he's a better coach than Saleh. That's he outcoached Saleh in that game. Like that's the one thing. It's like Payton and Harbaugh. They will always be in games. They will always make their teams competitive. They just don't have the roster. Sean Payton came in and didn't want Russell Wilson at quarterback. He made that clear when he signed Jared Stidham to that outrageous contract. He said, "Hey, here's Stidham." What? Who? What? Stidham? And then it's like, oh yeah, I like this guy. I think he fits what I want to do.
The even crazier thing about it is that what's hampering Peyton is not that players are not available. It's that he doesn't have the money to sign them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Get that money. He's going to get a chunk of that money after this season's over.
Yeah,
there's going to be about, I think it's about 50 something million in cap space that's going to be cleared up because they pushed all the Russell money forward, and there's going to be another. And the best part is, it's 53 million for 2025, and then in 2026 they're going to get another 26 million. So if they can hold on to the key pieces, like they're probably going to let Javonte Williams walk. They're probably going to maybe ship out Greg Dulcich. They're probably going to, I don't know if they necessarily should, but they're probably going to let somebody like Garrett Bowles walk and sign the players that they need to sign and then draft well. They're going to be the Broncos are looking. That's why, like, I don't like if they had lost to the Jets, I wouldn't have cared because they should have lost to the Jets. Like that's what was supposed. They should have lost to the Buccaneers. The when me taking the over 6 wins or over 5 wins actually bet multiple times was me just going. There's going to be games where Sean Payton coaches better than somebody else and he gets the win. I understand that Bo Nix is a rookie quarterback. Mm-hmm. They don't have the receivers. It's going to take some time. This is a growing year for them. All right, cool. Works for me. Him getting the wins, I'm like, all right, cool. This is now we're getting into spicy territory where they could be a team that ruins another team's chances of making the playoffs. I don't have them as a playoff team, but they could be a team that potentially knocks out a Chargers. No offense or anything like that. But like if the Chargers get things going and look like a playoff team, they could be a team that knocks out some of these potential playoff teams in the conference with conference records. So we'll see how that goes. But
do you know what cap Jim Harbaugh is going to be entering with?
His 2025?
Yeah.
What? How much?
Without signing Rashawn Slater, because we haven't signed him yet.
Yeah.
$78 million.
There you go.
And then in 2026, keep in mind we still have to sign players, but in 2026, we have already $253 million in cap. But that's also not including signing players, restructuring contracts. We can still restructure Derwin James. Like Khalil Mack most likely gone. Maybe we can get him on a nice 1 year, like $10 million deal or something like that. You know,
that's another thing. Chiefs don't win that game, especially after Rashee Rice gets injured, if Derwin James isn't suspended.
Yeah.
They don't. Like that would have been the Mahomes bad game, and people would have been like, "Oh my God, what's going on with Mahomes?"
Yeah, Derwin James is not letting Worthy
Yeah,
get to the playoff. Yeah, that was our backup safety. Like that's what people need to understand. That wasn't Gilman on him. That was a Molden, I think, the guy that we traded from the Titans and stuff. But yeah, no, like that's why it's just like one of those things. That's why I say people like there's good coaches, but they don't have the roster. There's bad coaches and they have the roster. There's just bad coaches. They're just bad. It doesn't matter. I don't care what their situation is. Then there's good coaches. Then there's great coaches. That's the tier list. Yeah, yeah. Great, good, good, but don't have the roster. Bad, and they have their roster. Bad, and that's it. And there's a lot more bad than bad with the roster.
And here we have a situation of bad coach with good roster in the Saints with Dennis Allen, and we have good coach with injured roster in the form of Andy Reid.
No, Andy Reid's in the great tier. He's in the great tier. He's great.
but these are our pick'ems for this week. If you want to go with the Chase approved parlay, remember it is under Derrick Henry yards, it is over Stephon Diggs yards, and it is anytime touchdown for Kenneth Walker. So now let's shift a little bit. Let's talk about legitimately landing places for two key offensive players. We have on the one hand Kyle Pitts, and on the other hand we have Davante Adams. Now there's no actual the way that there is for Davante Adams. There's no like feet to the fire to trade Kyle Pitts, but it's more from the Falcons' perspective. If you're not going to use the guy, and you can get a lot back for him from another team that thinks, hey, we can fix Kyle Pitts, or if they're, whatever the situation, or we could use Kyle Pitts. It's more of a putting on our fantasy hat GM mode kind of thing if we were playing Madden. So let's take a look at this. You pick whether you want to start with Davante or you want to start with Kyle Pitts, and let's talk about real actual.
No, we got to talk about Cooper. He's also good.
Oh, Amari Cooper, yes, as well. Amari Cooper. So you pick which one you want to start with, Davante, Cooper, or Pitts, and we'll go from there.
So we're going to start with Davante Adams. He's the best player to talk about.
All right. And we've got all the teams up here. That's the best part of
it. Yeah. I know people want to say Jets because that's the sexy pick. I don't think he goes to a sexy pick. I don't think he goes to the Chiefs. I like Telesco, who's the GM for the Raiders. He doesn't really do interdivision trades that much. He was the GM for the Chargers. So I think the Chargers are also off, unless like he does the, hey, Los Angeles, I owe you one. I did some bad moves for you guys. I'll give you Adams and stuff. So I don't think they will trade him within division, nor do I think they will trade him in conference. So I'm looking at NFC.
Either. Okay.
Yeah, I think they want to make sure Adams is nowhere near it. Sure. There's that weird rule that you can't be traded back to your team unless you're 2 years removed, and I don't think the Packers want him anyways because they got rid of him.
Yeah.
My top picks are the Cowboys and the Falcons. Falcons, I feel like they're just in this weird win now mode since signing Kirk Cousins. They traded a 3rd round pick for Judon. I think if you're the Raiders, you're liking that the Falcons would give you a 2nd round pick, and that 2nd round pick could be pretty high for the most part. So I think that would be good. I think the Falcons have it, and the Cowboys, they'll find a way. They'll always find a way to get star players, and I think that's what's missing. And CeeDee Lamb and Davante Adams, that's a great 1-2 punch for Dak. If you can't run the ball that well, fuck it, just pass it. And we all know Dak, he loves throwing it deep, and Adams loves just doing whatever he wants, running routes and stuff. So I don't know if Dak will be able to handle 2 hothead wide receivers. That'll be very interesting to see. But I do think those are the main 2 teams that I would say for Davante Adams. The dark horse, if they were to trade in conference, would be the Steelers. But the Raiders fans would hate that. That would be like anti-Raiders to trade with like a huge rival like the Steelers like that. Like we could talk about division trades and stuff. Yes, the Raiders hate the Chargers. Yes, the Raiders hate the Chiefs, hate the Broncos. Their hatred for the Steelers is way worse than any of those teams. Any of those, you know how many Raiders fans were pissed because they couldn't keep the Steelers out of the playoffs that one year Staley called the timeout, could have led to a tie. They were rooting for a tie because that's how much they hate the Steelers. They're like, fuck this team. So that's why I cannot see that. And then also to Davante Adams, he's like, I think this is what he's asking for. If you can't get me to the Jets, I understand. I just want a team with a quarterback. Can you get me a team with a quarterback? And I'm sorry, like as much as Justin Fields has been fun, Devontae Adams is going to be. I can already see it. Adams just miserable as he's running routes, and then Fields is just running. He's just like hands on his hips, like, "Fuck is this? The hell? My fucking So my picks are like the Falcons and Cowboys. I think those are the two legit teams that actually have a good shot at getting Devontae Adams.
I like your thought process of not in conference. I'm gonna stick with that. I also like Falcons and Cowboys, so I would include them. But I think that it could also be the Commanders, the Giants, or Philly, which is weird because they're all NFC East teams. But the Commanders desperately need another person for Jaden Daniels to throw to. I think that someone like Devontae Adams provides a lot of stability for Terry McLaurin and for Jaden Daniels. I think that Philly desperately needs a wide receiver with the injuries that are happening. And also, if you got Devontae Adams, the amount of firepower that you would have with Devontae, AJ Brown, and Devonta Smith and Saquon Barkley, you really wouldn't need Dallas Goedert, which if those two are back, they don't really use Dallas Goedert in the first place.
Yeah.
And the Giants, if they can pair Neighbors and Adams together, not even from the perspective of competing or being good or anything like that, I would, if I'm the Giants, I would almost be willing to burn the draft capital and the cost to help teach Malik Neighbors. Yeah. If you like that, it's a classic case of Madden now, where it's like, does the player have a mentor tag? Like, does that where it's like Devontae Adams as a mentor for Neighbors would be amazing for Neighbors' development, especially for whatever quarterback is going to step into the role once Daniel's out of there. It's a situation also with Philly that Devontae Adams does not care about getting the ball. Like, he wants the ball, but he's also not selfish in that sense of, if the team is doing well, and like he said on receivers, if we're winning the right way, the winning the right way for Devontae Adams does not come across as important. It has to be me, because he's been perfectly fine with Jacoby Myers getting plenty of looks, whether it was Garoppolo, whether it was Aiden O'Connell. He didn't care last year. And now it doesn't seem as though he cares that much with Gardner Minshew throwing the ball to Myers or to Brock Bowers. What he cares about is the ball getting there, to your point about having a good quarterback. So having him in Philly doesn't seem as though it would be like him and A.J. Brown butting heads, because A.J. Brown wants the ball. And similar to the Cowboys, he would not butt heads with CeeDee Lamb, because CeeDee Lamb wants the ball, and Devontae's like, I just want to win. Like, Devontae Adams is in that, I've had a career, I've made over $100 million, I just want a ring. That's what he wants. Yeah. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That's really what he wants in life. And his contract is like, yes, there's a serious cap hit with it, but if you can stomach the cap hit and get him to be willing to restructure, it's a contract that has 2024, 2025, and 2026 on it. So you have the ability to extend the period of time that you have him. I don't think, though, that he would be happy going to the Giants, because Daniel Jones is terrible. Yeah. And that's like, but for the team, it would make a lot of sense. So, okay, we've covered Devontae. You want to go with Cooper or Pitts?
Let's go with Cooper. He's more fun.
All right.
Pitts is like a hypothetical.
Yeah. Where do you see Cooper going?
I don't think the Browns don't care where they send him. I think he goes to the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are so desperate they'll just they'll just like the only two teams I can see are the Chiefs and the Rams.
Hold on,
those
sorry.
are the two teams.
But before we get further on the Cooper, with Devontae, what do you think the trade package has to be?
A second round pick, maybe a player that you don't love that much, that the Raiders are interested in, and then like a 2026 like fourth or sixth, something like fourth, like around that range or something like that.
So in the case of the Falcons, your player would be Pitts, I'm assuming.
Pitts would be one of them, but there's also other players that they have that maybe that the Raiders would be interested in. So,
And who would you save from the Cowboys?
I don't think they have anyone they want. Maybe there's an offensive lineman that they like, and because Dallas they have a bunch of rookies that play offensive line.
Yeah.
So maybe there's an offensive lineman you really like, or maybe you like Tolbert, and like you're just like, hey, we'll take Tolbert from you. We like him. He's fast. He can do this. Like, something like that. I think it's just like a player that you know that you're not going to be using that we could be using. Like honestly, I think also a team that has like a good backup quarterback because like Gardner Minshew has been whatever. Maybe you just say, yeah, you obviously you don't trust O'Connell, otherwise you would have put it in by now. Maybe a team with a good. How come we didn't think of the Bills? They have Trubisky, bro. And Trubisky, one of the better ones. They could trade Trubisky. Second round pick.
God, you want to have that killer in our division?
Yeah, dude. Oh, I love Mitch. I'm a
So,
Trubiscoholic.
Let me see. Dallas, the backup is Cooper Rush and then Trey Lance. Oh God, Trey Lance.
Oh, I could see the Raiders. They're like, we can fix him. We're the team that will fix Trey Lance. Yeah.
And then the Falcons, isn't it? It's not Mariota. Oh, it's Penix, but they're not trading Penix.
That could actually be like the trade piece that would like take the Falcons over the top is Penix. That'd be hilarious. You draft Penix just to make him a trade because the Raiders were interested in him. They were interested in him and Knicks, and the Raiders could be like, hey, Michael Penix, and the Falcons would be like, I don't know, but then they're thinking about it. They're just like, Kirk, we have for all these years.
Yeah,
maybe we can draft a better quarterback.
You can make an argument.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a good argument that do you really need Penix on your roster like this? And the Raiders like him, so yeah, that it could be it. Carolina's off the list. Like, I don't even think Bryce Young would entice them. They'll just be like, no, thank you, we're good. So, yeah, no, but I think the Falcons could actually get it done. I wouldn't be surprised if Penix is one of the guys in the trade. They're just like, yeah, we kind of wasted this 8th round pick on Penix. We could have had Dallas Turner, but we didn't know if we got because look, who knows? Maybe they just say, screw it, we'll just draft another quarterback. Kalen DeBoer guys. We're going with Jalen Milroe next year. Fuck it. They go with Milroe.
I mean, like talking about people who were available. Olu Fashanu was available over Penix. Talise Fuaga that the Saints took was available. There were some good quality O-linemen, so they could be having a little bit of buyer's remorse on Penix. You never know. But
because this tackle class is probably going to go down as the greatest offensive tackle class ever. Joe Olufashanu, Talise Fuaga, Latham is a beast. Kingsley from the Chiefs is a beast. Like all these great fucking tackles. Oh, and the guy on the Bengals, he's going to be good too when he gets better. Wow. You can't find this tackle class anywhere else. It's fucking amazing.
So, all right. So now we've got Cooper, and you're saying the Chiefs. What would the trade package? Besides the Chiefs, you have other teams, but what would the trade package be for Cooper?
Probably a 4th round pick would get the job done because he did that whole. They did that weird restructuring where he's just like he's now worth $908,000. So it's like any team with like a good 4th round pick or 5th round pick, they could get it done. Like the thing with Cooper is everyone say, well, he leaves the league and drops, and it's like, yeah, because he has Deshaun Watson throwing him the football. You notice how he became a much more productive player when Joe Flacco took the helm, and Cooper's still serviceable. He's still a good number 1, high end number 2, and you're just one of those teams that are saying, hey, we can take this guy, just give up a 4th round pick.
Would you look at that? Guess which team happens to have 2/3?
The Chiefs.
The Chiefs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're overpaying. They're so desperate they'll just give up. There's no other team. Yeah, because the other teams that I'm thinking about, I'm just like, like people have said the Chargers. Mark Cooper doesn't really fit the Jim Harbaugh style of. I would love him, but I don't think he fits what Jim Harbaugh wants. Like Devontae Adams is more of a Jim Harbaugh guy than like Amari Cooper. But the Chargers, like do you really want to take on that contract right now? And it's
Right.
one of those things where it's like, hey, we just cut our two highly expensive wide receivers. Let's get another one. It's like, do you really want to go down that route? The Rams, they could go for Amari Cooper, but then it's just like, why are you renting Amari Cooper for 1 year if you're really not going to make a difference?
Right.
Texans are like another team, but they already have good wide
receivers.
receivers.
Who I think could be a strong contender? Commanders.
Yeah, Commanders as well. Yeah,
and the Commanders happen to have the 25 third traded fourth to Dolphins for 25 third. Yeah, the Commanders. It looks like I think they have 3 for third round picks. They have theirs. Then they have the Dolphins, and I think they have the Eagles. From what I'm trying to read here.
Yeah, from Dotson, right?
Yeah, from the Dotson trade. But then also, if we want to talk player-wise, they don't really have much. Like that defense is not good, but they picked a lot of rookies. So you could make an argument that whoever is kind of expensive on the defense.
Oh, yeah, because they have those 2 tackles. They have Allen and Daron Payne.
Yeah. They also have Farrell, the defensive end.
And he's his last year of his contract. Yeah.
You got Dante Fowler out from the linebacking core. They've got a few people there that are not like the greatest player, and they've drafted like they took a defensive end, a defensive tackle, they took an outside linebacker, they took a safety and a cornerback. So you could potentially make a couple moves there, and for the Commanders, you get cheaper. Yeah, which is even better because then you can spend in the offseason to bring in better help for the defense and for Jayden Daniels, and you would have be able to re-sign Cooper to maybe like a 2-year deal to get him to make him feel comfortable and to provide a little bit of stability. I mean, Amari Cooper with Terry McLaurin, Ben Sinnott, Brian Robinson, Jayden Daniels. That's a pretty good offense.
Yeah, I think the Commanders could, because like I forget, they do have Daron Payne and they do have Jonathan Allen, and those are 2 guys that really, to be honest, could be very expendable for them, especially because I think Jonathan Allen not so much because they did just pay him a lot of money, and so I think a lot of teams probably want to take it. But Daron Payne, I think, is very expendable. I think it's like one of those guys that, because they did draft that one tackle that's also God, I'm drawing a blank on his freaking name. He kills it in my head.
Newton.
Yeah, Jazar Newton. So, he hasn't really seen too many crazy snaps, but maybe you want to get him more out there instead of Daron Payne. But yeah, and Farrell's another guy that could also make sense. The Browns are saying, hey, let's just add Clelin Ferrell to this. He's on an expiring contract, but so is Cooper. So, if you feel Clelin Ferrell, and if you want to re-sign Clelin Ferrell, it's going to be a lot cheaper than re-signing Amari Cooper, and you get a draft pick back. Sounds like a good deal to me. So yeah, I think that could be I don't know if they would go for like Daron Payne. Like that would be a little bit too expensive because he also recently got like an extension too. Not a crazy one, but he got an extension. So yeah, I could see like a Clelin Ferrell 4th or 5th round pick for Amari Cooper. Like keep those 3. How hilarious would be to use the 3rd they got for Jahan Dotson just to get Amari Cooper. It's like what the fuck? Like
anybody would make that trade. Anybody would make that trade.
That would be the funniest scene ever. Like, dude, we got this pick for Jahan Dotson, and we're gonna end up with Amari Cooper at the end.
The Eagles would be so pissed off because, like, you rarely do an in-division trade, and then that team finds a way to get a major upgrade over the player that they gave you. Man, that would be really funny.
Yeah, I think that'd be hilarious. But yeah, no, I think for sure that I think it's either the Chiefs, and I do like your Commander shot. I think those are the 2 main teams that Amari Cooper would go to.
Yeah. But alrighty, guys, that's our conversation for this week.
Fitz is going to the Chargers, guys. Come on, we were giving it. Yeah, it's gonna happen, dude. I'm gonna be so happy. I'm gonna load up Madden right away when that happens.
Oh my god!
Rivers to Gates reincarnated.
Oh, this guy. But guys, that's our week 5. This is week 5. Pick'em's show. You can see all of our choices here. I admittedly went pretty safe. You did too. Like a lot of times we took the favorites. I think the only place we really differed was Jets and Vikings,
Yeah.
Bengals, Ravens. And Patriots, Dolphins.
Yeah.
That's those are our three main differences. So I think what I'll do is I'll put those three on a parlay, see what happens. Vikings, Ravens, Dolphins. And see what happens. I've got I think in all of those it's the underdog. Well, I mean Patriots Dolphins is a push. Not underdog, the favored, but Dolphins Patriots is a push. So you're being the spicier one between the two of us with your picks this week. But we'll see you guys next week. We want to thank you all for tuning in as always. And Chase, let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, you guys can find me on the Round the Point Network Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. That's when we're doing the show. Something about Dynamite. I'll be on to talk about AEW Dynamite with my good friend Heel Steven. Friday on the True Real Heat channel, I will be on with SP3. We're going to be doing the review of the Mr. McMahon documentary on Netflix.
Oh, boy.
Saturday, it's going to be a long one for Mr. Chase Oliver. I got to make sure I got my steps in beforehand. 3 p.m. Eastern 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, WWE Bad Blood Watch Party. And then following that, UFC Utah, Pelea versus Jamal Hill here on the True Elite Sports Channel, live fight react for the main card.
I'm kind of surprised that TKO Group put a WWE pay-per-view and then a UFC pay-per-view like back to back.
I know. Man, that's why the WWE pay-per-view got pushed up. They're just like, hey, watch this Brazilian monster, Chama. also on that card, Kayla Harrison, fucking beast, Jose Aldo, legend. So it's a solid card, but we'll be on here watching that and stuff. And then Sunday, I'll be a sickle with Romeo. I'll wake up early before I have to go to work to watch the Jets, Jets, Jets take on the Minnesota Vikings. Skull.
And guys, you'll be able to catch me on those watch-alongs. My wife will be flying out with her family to Italy on the 3rd tomorrow, and tomorrow for me now. I don't think I'll be on the Bad Blood. I'm not usually on the pay-per-view watch-alongs. And then also I got things I'm doing this Saturday. I got I'm going. Actually, RJ, friend of the channel, his son is a football player up in Libertyville, and nice. And he is the offensive line coach. So I will be going to support RJ's son.
He's one of the coaches that probably yell too much, huh?
No, I don't think so. And also, apparently, listen to this level of ridiculousness. You are not allowed to heckle.
Yeah, you're never allowed to heckle.
That's bullshit.
As a head coach, yeah, you can't talk shit.
No. The people in the fan. That's the stand.
Oh, what?
Yeah, RJ said that now he could be lying to me, which to be fair, he could easily be doing because I told him I'm going to heckle him. But he said that if you do that in this league, they will kick you out of the game. And my thing is, I am not going to be heckling the players. I'm going to be heckling him.
The coaches, yeah.
I just want to make fun of him. Like, I don't care about I care about it in the sense that but I'm not trying to be mean to the kids. I just want to be mean to the coach, specifically the offensive line coach. That's it. That's all I'm there for. When it comes to heckling, when it comes to supporting, obviously I'm there to support his son and in the hopes that that team pulls out a victory. We will be rooting for them on Saturday. But until Sunday, you will not see me, but you will see Chase on the True Heel Heat channel. So until next time, guys, remember, take care of yourselves and each other. And remember, under Derrick Henry yards, over Stephon Diggs yards, anytime a touchdown, Kenneth Walker. So until next time, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll catch you all later.